Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old Energy Boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, but at 19 with the Vauxhall Viva, I was a babe magnet.
Really? Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mics on TalkSport. What a shocker for Newcastle this afternoon as Brighton took all 3 points for only their second win ever in the Premier League. If you're on the long journey back to the Toon, we want to hear from you. Rafa Benitez said he thought they'd done enough for a point, but he seemed a bit distracted during the game. Did he react too slowly? Did he seem as if he was right on the button today? I'm not sure he did. 08717 22 3344. We want to hear from you. Great result for Brighton, of course, as well. And if you're a Brighton fan, you must be pretty encouraged by what's going on so far. Coming up later in the show, we're joined by soccer diva Sophie Nicola, all the way from California, and our favourite Australian correspondent Sandra Lee is going to be on the show as well. Plus, we're asking whether the top 4 has really now become the top 3 in the Premier League. And as if that's not enough, we've also got Porky Vision as well. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good evening to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good evening to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good evening to you, Mike, as well. I don't know what sort of rubbish you're talking about, with Rafa Benitez.
What do you mean?
Well, what are you questioning his position at Newcastle for?
I'm not questioning his position.
He is like easily the best quality manager Newcastle have ever had and will ever have.
That's not true.
Of course it is.
How can you say Rafa Benitez is the best manager they've ever had?
Well, who else has won a Champions League then that's gone on to manage Newcastle United?
Well, hang on, he didn't win the Champions League with Newcastle, though, did he?
No, of course he didn't, but he's won the Champions League. He's a manager who's engineered a Champions League victory.
Well, yes, of course
so
he
you're
has.
talking drivel.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was a very long time ago.
I don't care.
All I'm saying to you is that watching Rafa Benitez today, he's sitting on the touchline, and I realise that he's not been well, and he's been recovering from his hernia operation and all that, but he just seemed a bit distracted. I mean, I saw somebody put out on Twitter after the game, not piffle at all, and that's a stolen words you shouldn't use. You've stolen it from Boris Johnson.
Well, it was around a long time before Boris Johnson used it as an inverted pyramid of piffle.
Well, I never heard you using it before he did. Yeah. But anyway, my point about the sort of situation in on the bench today at Newcastle is that a lot of action on Twitter. People were saying he seems to be reacting very slowly, right before the end of the game.
How is he reacting slowly then? Well, you're talking about his body language.
No, I'm talking about Brighton scoring a goal.
Yes,
right, and sort of early in the second half, around about the 60th minute, I think it was, and he didn't seem to kind of react. He didn't change anything about the way the team was playing. He didn't suddenly come up with a great idea of.
Well, you don't always change things when you can see one goal.
No,
you might say to yourself, right, stick with the plan and this will work. And that must have been the way he thought about it.
Yeah, well, it must have been. But then there's a piece of footage, right, where he's sitting in his little dugout and he's got his pen and he's got his paper out and he's making notes and he suddenly kind of appears to realise it's nearly the end of the game.
Yes.
And he jumps up, runs out onto the sidelines into the technical area and starts sort of waving his arms around and pointing and shouting at people as if he's only just realised
that's what animated managers do, when they're in the technical area.
Yeah, I know, but you've obviously not seen this piece of video, otherwise you would be the same like me, surprised that so close to the end of a game which they're looking at getting no points from, nil points.
Yes.
This is a team who were in 4th place before this weekend, right?
Yes.
And they have now dropped all the way back down because they went to Brighton, according to him, doing enough, he thinks, to get a point.
Yeah.
Now, with the best will in the world, Brighton are the newbies in the Premier League, right? Newcastle are not. They've been in the Premier League plenty of times before, for plenty of good seasons and bad seasons. Brighton have only ever won one game coming into this game in the Premier League.
Right.
And I think surely Newcastle's aspirations should be slightly higher than going to Brighton for a point, shouldn't they?
Okay, well, so that's your opinion on Rafa Benitez, okay? Yeah, well, let me give you the opinion of Robbie Fowler, right? Because Robbie Fowler, I think, knows a little bit more about Rafa Benitez than you do.
Fowler.
Because Robbie Fowler played
Terrific
under
guy.
him when he went back for the second time to Liverpool.
He used to come in here and do the sports breakfast. I've had many conversations with him.
Robbie's a good lad.
He is a good lad.
So anyway, he says that he went round to Rafa Benitez's house on Christmas Day.
What, this Christmas Day?
No, Christmas Day in the years then he was playing for Liverpool and Rafa Benitez was the manager.
Yes.
And he lived quite close by because Rafa Benitez has got an £8 million house on the Wirral, and that's where a lot of the the Everton Liverpool players live. So he lived quite close by. Yeah. So on Christmas Day he went round. He was delivering stuff that he'd brought from the training ground the previous day. Relating to their next opponent.
Robbie was delivering stuff to Rafa?
Yes, to Rafa.
Well, like what?
The videos and that sort of stuff that pertain to their next opponents, right? So Rafa's family had already gone home for Christmas, so Rafa was in the house on his own.
Oh, yeah.
So he said, I knocked on the door, Rafa answered it and invited me in. He said we went into a room where there were massive TVs on the wall, tactics boards all around, and he was in there poring over the plans to combat the teams who were playing over the holiday period. It did not matter that it was Christmas Day. It did not matter what time of year it was. He was just immersed in the detail of what he was doing, plotting the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. For me, it was massively obsessive.
Well, do you think he's the only manager that does that?
That is not a criticism, just a mark of the manager. It's the one thing Newcastle fans can bank on. Rafa will not leave a single thing to chance. Every detail, every point down to the smallest of pieces of information everyone else would assume wasn't important will be analysed by him. Well, now, that's Robbie Fowler talking about Rafa Benitez, and you, in your amateurish, observation of a game on television,
no, my amateurish
say
observation,
he was casual.
Well, let me tell you
distracted.
Something. Let me tell you something about my amateurish observation of the game.
Yes.
Do you know who I predicted would win this game?
No, I don't.
Brighton.
Did you?
Yes, it's in my treble, in fact. I've now got 2 legs of my treble, only 1 to go, which is my prediction that tomorrow West Bromwich Albion will beat Arsenal.
Yeah, well, they won't, of course, so that's yours blown out the water.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
Burnley had 6 chances against Huddersfield.
Yeah.
If one of them had gone in, my treble would have been completed.
And what happened?
I already had Spurs 1, Manchester United 1. Unfortunately, it was 0-0.
Yeah, so your treble has crashed and burned.
Well, it hasn't crashed and burned.
It's not even Monday yet.
It's just veered a bit off course.
No, it's crashed and burned. It's done.
Anyway,
it is no more.
Anyway, listen,
it has ceased to be.
I want to reach out to the Newcastle fans because they're good people. They are my flock. They're part of my flock.
Before you do that, let me just tell you, one of them says that Bobby Robson is a better coach than Rafa. So stick that in your pipe.
Well, Bobby Robson won a European trophy. He won the UEFA Cup when our colleague Alan Brazil played in the Ipswich team
Barcelona
in about 83 or something.
He also managed
82.
Barcelona, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah.
So
but he didn't take them to the Champions League victory, did he?
No, he did
not. They didn't win the European Cup under him.
But, you're just saying that trophies mean everything.
Yeah, well, they do.
No, they don't.
But
because Everton haven't got any.
You haven't picked me up on the fact that when Bobby Robson was manager of Barcelona, they won the Cup Winners' Cup, actually, which was the second competition.
They didn't win the Champions League.
Well, they didn't win the European Cup. Anyway, listen, you Newcastle fans, you know that I do not speak with forked tongue on these matters, so give us a call, please.
You do on some other matters,
I certainly do not. Give us a call, please, 08717 223344. Do you honestly think that if Rafa Benitez decided to up and off, or, Mr. Ashley decided that he should leave, would you get a better manager?
Hang on.
There's no better manager to manage Newcastle. It's ludicrous to suggest there is.
That is not my point. My worry with Rafa Benitez is that he's already dazzled by the Premier League. He's in the Premier League now. When he was in the Championship, he did a deal with Newcastle, right? Now, everybody knows, had they not come back up into the Premier League, he would have probably walked away from the job, right?
Yep.
So all this nonsense about him being, a Newcastle boy, he's adopted the town and all that, he's as good
he
a
doesn't
Geordie
speak like a Geordie,
I didn't say I was speaking as him. I was speaking as a Geordie.
Oh, Newcastle boy.
By the way, Jackie, who was from Newcastle, she said to me, "You had the best Newcastle accent I've ever heard from a Southerner."
Who said that?
To me, Jackie, the stewardess on the BA flight.
Oh, did she really?
And she was from Newcastle.
What's that got to do with the price of fish, by the way?
I'm just telling you that her judgment of my accent was pretty good. Anyway, never mind all that. What I'm saying to you is that there, you know how I'm very good at psychologically analysing situations, right?
No, I don't
because
know
I've
that
already done that. Because I've already done it with you.
That's a joke.
No, I've done it with you.
No,
I've stripped you down and bared your soul to everybody. Everybody now knows you to be a charlatan because of my psychoanalysis of you. The point about Benitez, right, is that he's now back in the Premier League and he's looking at the sorts of clubs that he used to manage, like Liverpool. He's looking at the European Champions League. He's looking at things that he thinks he should be doing. And because he's now in the Premier League, he's being reminded of it more and more often.
Yes.
Right? So I think he's now getting to the point where he's a bit fed up managing Newcastle and he thinks he's probably got one more big club in him. And by big club, I mean a big European player.
Right.
I think he's thinking, I've got more to do in this game than to just manage Newcastle.
See, you're just you're putting that theory together on supposition, rumour, and a bit of body language today. It's an amateur observation of a situation, which, frankly, I think you've misinterpreted.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think you have.
We can easily argue about it all day. It's my theory. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's a fact.
Well, I'm saying it's
what I'm saying to you is my conjecture that I think he's distracted.
Yes.
He looks distracted. He shouldn't be.
No, he doesn't. He looks involved.
No,
he looks involved and concerned in the game.
Well, he's gone to Brighton. Brighton and lost and got no points.
Yeah, well, managers lose games occasionally,
Yes, of course they do.
Now,
They do,
the point
but,
is...
I wasn't expecting... I didn't expect them to be so toothless, shall we say,
You
against
were,
Brighton. I thought Brighton would win because of my theory that Rafa Benitez is distracted.
But you see, you're putting the boot in on Rafa because you want to.
I think you'll find you're the one who's always calling him the fat Spanish waiter.
No, I never called him that.
Yes, you did.
And you said to me prior to the show, when we were doing our research for this show, you said, well, of course, the 3 games that he wasn't in charge of because of his hernia.
No, that's not true.
He lost.
No, that's not
true.
true.
I said, well, no. I said he was only away for 1 game.
No, that's
you said
not
it was
true.
2.
Why do you try and make things up?
Then we eventually...
Because if you want me to reveal what we really talked about before the show, I'm happy to do that.
And eventually we found it was 1 game.
It was 1 game.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not say that he was away for 3 games.
Oh,
you were the one that said that.
No.
I can't believe you're such a liar.
No,
you are such a barefaced liar.
Honestly,
I
how
can't
can you call me
it.
that? You shouldn't call me things like that in public. It's not right.
You shouldn't tell such lies.
I don't.
You were the one that said he was out for 3 games.
I did not. I did the research and found out
really?
that wasn't the case.
Actually, it was our producer Ross who told you that actually he only missed 1 game.
Yeah, well, exactly. But
So
that's because I asked for the research to be analysed thoroughly.
I think what you should do is give the number out one more time because there'll be a lot of Newcastle fans who have a view about this. I think some of them will agree with me that Rafa seems a bit distracted.
No, well, so what? He seems a bit distracted because he was trying to win a game of football that they were losing at the time. I've just told you what Robbie Fowler thinks. And
you told me that Robbie Fowler went round to see him on Christmas Day.
Personally,
no relevance at all.
It is it's absolutely relevant because Robbie Fowler's worked with him and knows him personally. Now, the number, of course, 08717 22 3344. Can I just say to you folks as well, if you're coming back from Bournemouth and you head to the northeast, then you go straight up the A3 to the M25. You go right the way round to the top of the M25 to the A1, and then you go straight up the A1.
Don't take your sat-nav instructions.
It's a very simple route. It's just quite long. It will take you about an hour and 20 to get from Bournemouth to...
Why were they in Bournemouth? They turned left out of Brighton.
What?
What do they go to Bournemouth for?
Oh, sorry, it's not Bournemouth, it's Brighton. It would take you about an hour.
An idiot.
Take you about an hour to get up
Once
the...
you've gone to Bournemouth, you're another 2 hours
Hang on. I said the A3. I meant the A23. It's the A23, which is one goes past Gatwick
that's
Airport.
Not closed?
No, it's not closed, no.
It's the M23 goes past Gatwick, by the way.
It's what?
It's the M23.
Yes, that is right. Yeah, but the M23 then goes into the A23. When you come out of Brighton, you're on the A23. Then you get onto the M23.
Yeah.
Then you go past Gatwick. And then I'll tell you what, I've told you the wrong way to turn onto the M25. Don't go left. That would be too. Go right.
Yeah.
And then go over the Dartford Bridge crossing.
No, you can't do that way. You have to go under the tunnel.
Under the tunnel, that's right. Go under the tunnel.
If you go over the Dartford Bridge crossing, you go the wrong way.
No, you'd crash into the cars coming the other way. That's right.
Yeah.
Go under the Thames through the tunnel. When you come up on the other side, it's only about 3 or 4 junctions to the A1. Yeah. Turn right on the A1 and whoosh, next stop, Tyne Tunnel.
I thought you told everyone the A1 was a horrible road the other day.
It is a pretty horrible road, but you can't get to the northeast any other way.
Yeah, of course you can.
Well, you've got the M1, but
you go up the M11, and then you can join up with the M1.
That's a rubbish route. You're way off.
Anyway, give the number out.
The M1 goes to Leeds. That's as far as it goes.
I wish you'd go to Leeds. Why don't you give the number out?
Right, the number, folks, 08717 22 3344. I'm telling you that Rafa's the best you'll possibly get.
Yeah.
But Mike Graham is trying to say he was distracted.
I'm saying he's distracted.
I get distracted having you in this studio.
I'm not surprised. Here's another one who's knocking your theory into a cocked hat. Keith says this: King Kenny won 3 Champions Leagues, and he's the only player-manager in history to win the double. Plus, he then managed Newcastle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Coming up a little bit later on this hour, Sophie Nicola is going to join us. She is, of course, the soccer diva. She's flown in all the way from Los Angeles, California. We're going to talk to her about what happened at Wembley today with that NFL protest. We're also going to ask her about Bobcat Bob, who's coming up in Los Angeles in the new franchise. Bit of David Beckham, and, of course, the Arsenal game, which is coming up tomorrow night down at the Emirates against West Bromwich Albion, because she is, of course, our celebrity Arsenal fan. Now, let's hear from Rafa Benitez, who said after the game with Brighton that the goal shouldn't have stood.
Quite disappointed because I think we lost an opportunity to at least to get the point. I'm not happy with the goal conceded because I think it's a clear foul. The player that is blocking our players is in movement, so that is a foul. The referee has a very good vision. The chances that we gave to them, not happy with that, but the chances that we had also, we have to be more clinical. And overall, we reacted well at the end of the second half. But we have to do better and manage it to be better than Saturday.
Well, they have to do better. Well, surely they have to have better sort of aspirations, is my point as well.
Well,
I mean, go to Brighton and
you're making so much fuss about one team losing one game after they've won the previous 3.
Well, hang on, because you know, one game does not necessarily a season make. I appreciate that. But look at Everton. I mean, Everton, for example, had lost, the previous 4 games?
Yes.
Suddenly won one, and now suddenly everything's happy. Everyone's turned around. Everyone's going, now everything's going to be
winning
fine.
is its own reward, isn't it?
Well, it is. But the point is also losing is its own failure, whichever way you look at it. I mean, look at Roy Hodgson, for example.
Yes.
You know, he goes to Manchester City, the poor character, after his first game that he loses, right?
He lose 6-0.
He then loses 6-0 to Manchester City. Right? He's now got to go to play Manchester United and Chelsea.
That's right.
Now, he's probably going to lose the first 4 games that he's in charge of Crystal Palace for.
Yeah, they'll have lost 9 games altogether, won't they, by the time they get to that?
He managed to get a win in
That's 1/4 of the season.
In the Carabao Cup, right? So what? Basically, this is a guy who is following on from somebody who lost 4 games and got fired. He's now going to lose 4 games. Is he going to get fired?
Well,
probably not.
What they'll say, well, hang on, he's had to inherit somebody else's mess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll take him more time to tidy it up. But also, the quality of the opposition that he walked into couldn't have been harder. I mean, it just couldn't have been tougher. So he'll be given more time. But I mean, if it then goes another 4 games, then you've got to quite realistically say, we are doomed to relegation unless we get a genius to come in and turn this round.
Well, they haven't scored a goal yet, Crystal Palace, have they?
No, I think Palace are already doomed to relegation. I just don't see how you can lift yourself out off the bottom when you haven't got a point or a goal, and you're like 7, 8, and maybe even 9, depending on how the fixtures, how their results come. 9 games into the season without a point. I mean, crikey almighty. It's never been done before.
Well, it hasn't. And I mean, as you say, if it goes the way we expect it to go, with the next 2 games, he doesn't get any points. You know, Crystal Palace are going to be at the bottom. They're now the only team with no points.
That's right.
Even Bournemouth have got 3. West Ham above them have got 4. Although they had a pretty awful day on Saturday, didn't they?
Not really, did they?
West Ham?
Yeah, because
they lost to Spurs.
They did, but they didn't half rally and come back. I mean,
but I think that was Spurs taking their foot off the gas personally.
Well, I went to... Now, we left here, it was 2-0. So I went to see the rest of the game. And I thought that'd be great. And then it got to 3-0, then it got to 3-2.
Yeah.
And it was a great fighting spirit by West Ham. So, you know, there's life in West Ham.
So you think there's life in the old Slaven Bilic dog?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
All right.
By the way, have you got any old £1 coins at home?
Any old £1 coins? What you mean before they made the new ones?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't keep coins in jars. If that's your question.
I've got. I reckon about 200.
Why?
Well, because what I do is in the summer. You know, in the summer I don't wear a jacket.
Right.
So I don't have pockets.
Okay. Well, so you've got pockets in your trousers.
Yeah, but if I put money in my trouser pockets, it weighs my trousers down. So, you know,
get a little purse or something.
No. I usually carry something in my bag. You see what I mean? But mostly when I got change and I go home, I put it into.
But you can take. I mean, you could take, for example, if I've ever got a lot of coins, I'll take, say, £5 coins and put them in my pocket, and then once I've spent those, I get another 5. So you don't have to carry like loads of them.
No. But what I'm saying is, I put them into tins. So so that I don't have to carry them around.
So you think you've got hundreds of pounds in tins?
I've got hundreds of pounds, definitely. Yeah.
Have they not phased them out though? Can you?
Well, this is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
I've got a whole Malteser bucket full of dosh.
You're like the old miser of Dickensian times.
But what I've read, I've read this morning in one of my journals is that you've only got 1 month to spend your coins.
Well, I was going to say they're going to cut off presumably the point at which you can take to the bank.
There's £500,000 worth of coins. Where mine are in storage jars and tins in homes.
I wouldn't be surprised if £250,000 worth in your various apartments.
The old coin, which is thicker and heavier than its shiny 12-sided replacement, was introduced in '83 to replace the pound note. But you've just got 3 weeks to spend £500 million.
Really?
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Have you got the new £10 note yet?
I didn't know that it wasn't.
Yeah, there's a new, the plastic
the
£5 note.
I don't know.
There's now a plastic tenner.
10. I haven't seen that.
I'm surprised you haven't kept up with these things.
Experts at the Treasury.
Money is one of your favourite hobbies.
Experts at the Treasury and Royal Mint believe there are still millions of coins either lost down the back of the sofa or in wallets, which must be used by October the 15th. Yeah. Crikey, I didn't. But on October the 16th, Everton are playing at Brighton.
Yes, well,
so it's only 3 weeks away.
Take all your pound coins down and donate them to some charity in Brighton, at Brighton Football Club.
Well, I mean, at Crystal Palace, if they could just go around asking for people's old £1 coins, they could whip up about probably 100 million in lost coins in Croydon alone. Croydon, of course, where Britain's second biggest building is going to be built very shortly.
There's been some great stories about Gosport, by the way, the last couple of days.
Well, you've been putting it out around malicious rumours.
No, I have not. You said there are no homeless people in Gosport. I actually managed to pick up a story from the Portsmouth News, which was written about 2 months ago, in which it said that 1 in every 100 people in Gosport is in fact homeless.
Well, I should think that's a very, very low rate of homelessness for any town. No, it's not. It's half a percent.
Huge rate. Well,
it's half a percent.
If 1 in every 100, well, it's 1%, isn't it?
No, well, you said 1 in 200.
Did I? No, I said 1 in 100.
No, you didn't, honestly. And the figure was 1 in 200. I remember seeing the report.
Are you sure?
Yes, that's half a percent. That's not huge.
Well, half a percent of 60 million, right?
Yeah.
Is how much?
Well, who's the 60 million?
We say there are 60 million people in Britain.
Oh, I see. Yes.
What's
yes.
half a percent of that?
Sorry.
Is it? What is it, about 3 million?
Yes, 3 million.
3 million. There are not 3 million homeless people in Britain.
Well, I think there are.
No.
But you know what the definition of homelessness is? The definition
well,
of homelessness.
That depends on who you talk to.
Well, the definition of homelessness for me is somebody who is transitionally going from one home to another, but is homeless in between. And that's the figure we're talking about here. When I go to Gosport, I've never seen somebody camped out on the street, living in
what
the
about the people you gave the out-of-date beer to?
Well, they were just unfortunate who were sitting around. They were sitting around, a park bench, and so I went out to help them.
You get caught out by all the things you said before.
No, I don't. No.
So you've never seen anybody homeless, but you gave the homeless some beer.
I didn't. And by the way, that wasn't on my side of the water. That was on the Portsmouth side of the water, where there are some vagrants who sort of hang around. Yeah, hang around in low-life areas of the city. You know what I mean?
So they're all from Portsmouth, is what you say?
Well, there are a few of them from Portsmouth. But getting back to the football anyway. Look, getting back to the.
I've got a couple of great tweets here, right?
Right.
Here's one from Stevie. He says, "I totally agree about Rafa. 10 minutes left and 1-0 down. He takes off a defender and replaces him with another defender.
Yes, that's
Absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
So how about that? And then Gordon says maybe Rafa's just found out that Mike Ashley wants £380 million for the club.
385 apparently.
Maybe that's taking a toll of his attention.
What I read over the weekend was that the club's now been up for sale for 3 years. That Mr. Ashley's played quite hardball on the purchase price. I think he bought it for about half that price. From the report I read,
but he's put an awful lot of money in, hasn't he?
Well, I don't think. I think if you look at the total spend, if you weigh that up with sales as well, I don't know what that figure is. Well, maybe about 100.
I think he said he's put about £250 million into the club.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he can't put any more in. I mean, that's his basic line for why he wants to sell it.
Okay. Well, in that case, he would break even minus about 25 million, according to those figures.
Something like that.
So it will have cost him about 25 million.
Exactly.
Which is a fantastic thing to do in anybody's language to give 25 million quid of your own money to a club, a football club, which is as loved as much as Newcastle is by the people who support it. They should build a statue of him outside the ground.
Yeah, well, maybe they will, but I very much doubt that they will.
They should, yeah.
Well, they won't, though, because they're ungrateful about all that. Christopher says this, all I ever hear from Rafa is excuse after excuse. The man's a has-been. Porky, wise up. And that's from Chris, who's a Leeds fan in Wakefield.
When you made your point about Kenny Dalglish, and by the way, he's one of the greatest footballers that of our lifetimes. Yeah. He didn't actually win the Champions League as a manager.
No, he didn't. He's won 3 of them as a player.
Yeah, but I mean, he's one of the world's greatest ever players. I totally agree. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, in his first season as player-manager, they won the double. But he didn't win the Champions League. Yeah. And of course he's got an outstanding record and everything he does. But I'm actually saying that Rafa Benitez actually put a team together that won the Champions League. And, if you walked up and down the Via Venetia in Rome for the next 25 years, you wouldn't find anybody who'd done that.
In Rome?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, unless Kenny Dalglish was on holiday there, in which case you go, hey, Kenny!
No, but he played him in 3. He didn't actually win him as a manager.
I know.
So you've got to get that distinction straight, you see.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Dazza says, doesn't Porky move from house to house all the time on his own, but he's not homeless?
Well, yeah, I understand what you mean, yeah. It says here, the reason Porky doesn't have money in his pockets is because he hates the phrase, whose round is it? It's charlatan.
That's true.
That's very harsh.
It's also incredible that he keeps jars of money in his house. Yeah. You might as well give your address out. People go around there and take it all.
No, not at all.
Now, this is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. We want to hear from you. 08717 22 3344. Is Rafa distracted or not? Coming up next, though, the Soccer Diva is here. We're going to talk about Arsenal. We're going to talk about the NFL. And we're going to talk about football in America.
Indeed.
This is Talk Sport.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted.
This is Talk Sport. We are are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on, we've got some Porky Vision for you. We're going to do some heroes and villains of the weekend because there's been quite a few of those as well. However, I'm delighted to say that we're now joined live in the studio by the soccer diva, Ms. Sophie Nicola. Sophie, a very, very warm welcome to you and a very good evening.
It feels really good to be here with you guys.
Well, it's really great to have you. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes,
and of course, you've had a very busy day, haven't you?
I've had a very busy day. I had a really nice roast dinner today, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, one thing that I really miss living in California is a good old-fashioned roast. Had a bit of lamb, bit of potato,
Very
cauliflower
nice.
cheese.
Lovely.
Yorkshire
Like
pudding.
all that. Yeah, like
And
all that.
and it's although it was quite a warm day today.
It was. It's very hot today, actually. Very hot. I was out this afternoon. I couldn't believe it. I thought that's weird having that sort of. It's the true. What do they call it? The Indian summer.
They do call it the Indian summer. Well, they used to. I, funnily enough, saw a lot of football today, but not the kind that you think.
No,
right? Because I took the kids and the dog to a park in Eastbourne. And unbeknownst to me, they had all these football pitches there.
Yep.
And it was great to see because it was a sort of Sunday morning, full kit people.
Like the
dressed
Hackney Marshes?
Yeah, like the
type?
Hackney Marshes. There must have been about 10 games going on. And it was actually great to watch. And when you think of the other way to watch football that I now watch, which is, usually going with Porky to rather expensive... why are you clicking your pen like that?
Sorry, no,
it
I'm
was
just
very
making...
studious the way he did that, though.
Yeah, no, he's very deliberate.
A few
He's
notes.
just-
But of course, you have been to a real sporting venue today, have you not, Sophie?
Excuse me, I
Yes,
haven't
sir?
finished telling my story yet.
Well, you're talking
You
about
see,
kids playing football on
I'm
fields.
talking about the heart and soul of people playing football,
Right.
and the heart and soul of people that listen to Talk Sport.
okay.
They don't all go to hospitality areas in
At
Everton,
Everton.
and or at the Emirates,
Sip champagne.
and sip champagne and sit in the
Don't
director's
they?
box.
Oh, really? I
No, they
didn't
don't.
know. Oh.
And these were kids from say the age of 10 or 11. There was a couple of ladies' games going on as well. It was wonderful to see.
Do you think we've forgotten the essence of where football really came
Yes.
from and why we
I think
all
we
fell in
have.
love with it?
Well,
What,
when
you mean
see,
the pig's bladder days and all that kind of stuff, yeah?
Well, when you
Kicking
see-
cans
Maybe not
around
that
in the
far
street,
back.
hey? Why don't we all go and kick a can around
Well,
in the
when you
street?
see-
Get back to the roots of football.
Yeah, well, you're just a snob. When you see Bakayoko driving his, G-Class Mercedes into some bushes on the way back from training at Cobham because he's not that good at driving on the left.
That's right.
You
That's a
start
bit
to
of a
think,
problem, isn't
really?
It is a bit of a
There's a
problem.
disconnect.
And I mean, he just buys himself a new one to drive home with because it's just only 150
What's
grand.
funny though is that football, social media connects footballers with fans,
Yeah.
but yet there's a disconnect financially between fans and players. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's a bad thing. Players earn their right
Yeah.
to have big contracts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think that's one of the things that Arsenal fans were afraid of when the Cologne fans came. They just haven't seen that type of fandom
No.
in years, and that is not what English football is about anymore. And I think that it was a reminder of no matter where your team is,
Yeah.
and that team is bottom of Bundesliga, you love them and support them no matter what. And
Sure.
I think there was a little kind of, there was passion mixed with, some type of
It was
violence.
a remarkable turnout, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, those Cologne fans,
22,000.
because they hadn't been in Europe for so long, all decided, let's go and invade
That's
the
for
UK.
Them. For them,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic
Yeah,
thing. It's
it
a bit
was,
like
yeah.
the Celtic fans. They all go over to Anderlecht
Yeah, it's true.
in massive numbers,
Yeah.
right? Now, Celtic fans know that it's going to be very unlikely. In fact, we were
Exactly.
talking to somebody in Scotland just on Saturday before the Rangers game. Their best hope is to come third and drop into the Europa League and have European football for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's what makes their
Yeah.
season exciting, isn't it, for Celtic?
And they'll also go to Anderlecht, maybe with a bit of a hope that they can get something out of it. But, for them, it's not just about winning the Champions League
No.
or glory hunting.
No.
It's about travelling and being together and all that.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
you're right. So many will go that only half of them will go into the game.
Yeah.
We went to Sevilla when Celtic were in the final of the UEFA.
What was the UEFA Cup?
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, Martin O'Neill was the manager, but he got beaten by Jose Mourinho's Porto.
Porto, yeah.
Right. And
A lot of
as we-
cheating in that game, by the way.
Well, as we flew in
Terrible.
like that, the city
Your
had
favourite
turned
manager.
The city had turned green. You looked out the windows below, and the city had turned green. All the Celtic fans had taken over all the parks. They'd taken over all the streets. They'd taken over all the grounds.
That wasn't
around
all
the
they took
hotels.
over, by the way.
They
'cause-
took over
'cause-
my hotel
well,
bedroom
I was-
because Alan Brazil, who I went with, gave my hotel bedroom key to a couple of mates of his.
That was nice
When
of
I got
him.
back after the game, there were 8 of them in there.
Yeah. Well, it's even better than that, actually, because
Sounds like
I was
quite a
running
night.
the Scottish Mirror in those days, and
Right.
9 months later, there was a whole load of kids born with orange hair.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there would be.
Have you ever been to a Celtics Rangers game?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
Well,
intense.
this is where we can do do a little bit of Hollywood stuff for you because the last Celtic Rangers game we went with Rod Stewart on his private jet.
Oh, that's right. You guys were schmoozing with Rod.
Afraid,
and you were. I remember the picture with you guys and Rod Stewart. That was a definite bucket list.
That was great, wasn't it? That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, the way
how'd you get the invite on the jet? I've always wondered.
He was listening to our show one day, and Porky was defending him because the Daily Mail had written some horrible piece about how horrible his house was. His house in Essex was up for sale, and they'd sent some reporter around to go. Oh,
I don't think they had. You see, they hadn't even sent a reporter around. She spoke to the estate agent, got a few.
Well, she looked at all the pictures and all. No, I think he said she came round. I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't think she did.
But then she wrote this horrible piece about how chintzy all the furniture was and how tasteless it all was. And we were basically defending him, saying, how dare they, rip a...
and he heard you.
And he was listening. He rang in to the show.
Yeah.
And we sort of got talking to him, and then we kind of got in touch with his people, and they got in touch with us, and they rang Porky up some months later and said, Rod wants you to come to the Old Firm game at the weekend.
Can you make it?
And he said, well, the problem is I'm not sure we can make it. It's going to be difficult, because obviously we've got a show to do the following day in London. I'm not sure how we're going to... And they said, don't worry, you'll go on his private jet.
Amazing. Has there been a follow-up date? Has he reached back out to you since?
He hasn't yet.
Well, he's been in America ever since, actually.
He hasn't yet. But luckily, we didn't disgrace ourselves.
No, we didn't disgrace ourselves, because his life's so well organised that when he appears in Las Vegas, on a run of, say, 20 nights or something like that, his plane takes him home to his house in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's how he commutes home, because his two youngest lads, who are delightful little boys who came with us on the trip to the Old Firm game, he takes them with him, and they're part of his life. So he likes to keep with the family at all times.
I saw him play the Hollywood Bowl with Stevie Nicks.
Oh, right, okay.
And that was a great gig, and he
I bet
was
it was,
amazing. And at the end, he does the ritual. He kicks out a bunch of footballs.
That's right, yeah.
And, everyone was soaking it up and loving it. It's such a great entertainer.
He really is.
I don't think there's a lot of him, that kind of entertainers left.
There's not. And he's such a nice guy as well.
Yeah.
He is. It's
but let's
really
talk about
honourable gentleman.
Let's talk about a big story here today, and I know it's a massive story around the world, really. But what happened at Wembley today? And now I was under the impression you might have been able to go to that game, but you weren't there today. But it was one of the 4 NFL games to be played at Wembley this season. And to my absolute astonishment, what I've been saying to Mike here is that Wembley will now forever in America be synonymous with the largest ever, so far anyway, demonstration against Donald Trump, against police brutality, against racial discrimination in the United States. Everyone will know where Wembley is now. And it's quite a weird feeling for that to be the case.
Yeah, I think what's going on, it's a shame that there's this perception internationally now of this discourse in the United States because... I've lived there for 16 years now, and it's definitely evolved over the last couple of years. The landscape of, perhaps what you feel like you can talk about and say versus what people want to accept and hear, I think are two completely different things. And now there's this huge discussion, and some really influential people like LeBron James and Steph Curry, and obviously it started off with Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. And I think that there's a lot of Americans that agree with what's going on, but I think some people are also feeling there's an element of disrespect because they want to separate the sport from what's going on a cultural level on the streets. And I think for a lot of Americans, they also feel like the flag and the anthem represents the military aspect and that we should respect the military. And I think where the rubber meets the road is that a lot of people don't feel like they can stand for it because of who they can't stand in the White House.
Yeah, that is the problem, isn't it? But I mean, I was looking at some of the Twitter action that's been going on. It's been trending massively all day. I mean, Donald Trump hasn't helped himself by getting involved in sport, because it's always a bad place to go, isn't it? I mean, he's now calling on NFL franchises to fire players if they refuse to stand for the national anthem. I mean, that's really none of his business.
But I think there's a hypocrisy too, and I'm by no means a Trump fan. And there's nothing quite. I don't know if there's been a more unlikable person in the universe in a long time. I mean, he is he's beyond polarizing. I don't even know if polarizing is the right word you can use. But I think, some of the problems is too, it's like, well, the NFL teams are saying that, yes, you can, freedom of speech and stuff. But Colin Kaepernick exercised that, and he's been completely ostracized from the league.
Yes.
He cannot get a job.
Right.
So don't you find that's a little hypocritical in terms of everyone wants the headline and the news?
Yeah.
Everyone's kneeling, everyone's protesting, America's falling apart. Yet Colin Kaepernick, who was really standing up for the right reasons and has done some phenomenal work at a grassroots level, helping people, in the suburbs, in rural areas, no matter where he finds a story to be able to help people, can't get a job as a quarterback, even a backup quarterback in the league. And there are a lot of bad quarterbacks in the league. And I find that to be a little bizarre, don't you? Don't you guys?
Well, I'm not sure if it's bizarre or whether it's good business, you know what I mean? Because there's lots of consideration to this argument, apart from political, aren't there? You know, the amount of money and revenue in the NFL is so massive that you've got to take, when you make a decision, you've got to take into consideration the reverberations of that decision. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but it would be.
It's not principle, is it?
But we've seen in the last 24 to 48 hours all of the owners giving out statements of how they disagree with Donald Trump, how they're not going to fire them. But as Sophie says, this guy can't get a game.
Yeah,
no,
so
exactly.
I just find that so hypocritical. Yeah, completely. So.
Yeah, but who would he get a game with? That's the problem.
Well,
who would then, break rank and all that kind of stuff? That's
what we were saying. They're saying they're operating like a closed shop.
Exactly.
But they're saying something different.
Yeah.
What about this business of the attendance being down? Because Trump, again, he's a very smart guy. He talks about attendances because he knows about TV ratings. He knows about, The Apprentice and how the whole showbiz business works. What about the idea that he says people are turning away from the NFL in terms of live attendance because they don't like what's going on?
I think that in some markets this is, somewhat true, and in some markets there's a huge support for Trump as president of the United States. Those are the people generally that elected him.
Yeah.
But the NFL's never been bigger and more popular in the United States. And sometimes the argument also is the reason why some people aren't going is because they can watch the game anywhere, anytime, on any device. There's the Red Zone channel, which is a huge direct TV where you get to just watch every single game commercial free. You start at 10. It starts at 10 o'clock, finishes at 4. You don't even have to leave your bedroom if you don't want to. But there are definitely some people that find it very difficult to see professional players who earn a lot of money kneeling during the national anthem.
Do you think it'll spread to other sports?
It's had already. Someone in Major League Baseball, I think an Oakland Athletics player, was the first player to kneel over, I think it was a couple of days ago.
Right.
And so I think that, it's a way to create a movement. And I think there's a movement to absolutely... there are a lot of people that don't want to see Trump see out these 4 years, and I think they'll do anything they can to be able to do that. Now, he doesn't help himself at all. He's the worst communicator. He has no, people skills, public speaking skills whatsoever. But he doesn't really care, though, does he? No, he doesn't. He's very much like the uncle at Christmas dinner that just says what he thinks and, thinks what he says and is completely inappropriate. And you kind of squirm most of the time when that uncle... opens his mouth, and I think Donald Trump is very much like that.
And I suppose it's unthinkable just to not play the national anthem and get around the business that way.
I just don't understand or see how that can happen. One of the things I always loved, and I think it's somewhat going on here in England, isn't it, where your patriotism perhaps is being mistook for...
right-wing allegiance.
Yes.
Yeah, it is,
and there is a horrific movement going on in the United States now that is completely racially driven, and that has to be stamped out and eradicated, and he has to come out and completely shut that down right away and say, not on my watch, not while I'm president, but he hasn't done that.
No.
And so,
some might say he's encouraged it in some ways.
And I think that, it's going to be very difficult. The symbolism of the flag when I moved to the States 16 years ago was this very proud, a community, and never before had I seen the country more united after 9/11, and I moved there 2 months before 9/11.
Right.
And it was this incredible, atmosphere where you really wanted to help your fellow man, and there was a totally different vibe, and I think the US is so far removed from that. And, Trump is not, the leader I don't think a lot of people want, but some people do want him. But I think the problem in the US started from the George Bush presidency, has trickled down into the Obama presidency, and now we're seeing, Trump kind of blow it up.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, we've got some football to talk about as
Certainly
well,
have.
which we will get to. So we want to talk about Bobcat
1-0 to the Arsenal.
We also want to talk Arsenal-West Brom, which is tomorrow, which you will be going to.
Yes,
Sophie Nicola is here. She is the soccer diva. We'll be back after this. TalkSport. We are the two mics. We said Porky Vision was coming up later on. We're also going to go down under to talk to Sandra Lee.
We certainly are.
Some guys been caught train surfing down there.
Yeah.
That's the story we're going to get to.
Yeah,
and we will be talking about whether the Premier League is now producing a top 3 rather than a top 4.
Yep.
And Sophie Nicola is here with us, the soccer diva. Let's talk a little bit about Arsenal because they weren't.
They're way out of the top 3.
Well, they're not anywhere near the top 4 at the end of the season. Playing in the Europa League, taking on West Brom. I've tipped West Brom to win, by the way, tomorrow night.
You must be mad.
Just say that. Everyone says I'm mad, but it'll be the third part of my treble, which will have come true. So,
well, you may or may not know this, Sophie, but on the first day of the season, part of my treble
why has
was
this got any relevance to the show?
Because you've just talked about it, Burnley to go to Chelsea and win.
Did you pick that, really?
I did, yeah.
That
I
was
was the only
amazing
person in the
pick.
country who picked it. They were throwing it up at half-time, and he fainted because he couldn't believe I was going to get it right.
Well, they've really found their groove since that loss, haven't they,
They certainly
Chelsea?
have.
Well, I mean, that's it. Chelsea, Man United and Manchester City are now being talked about as the 3 teams that are in it, and everybody else hasn't got a chance.
I would definitely say City and United. I think Chelsea still have something to prove in that their squad is a little bit thin. But the way Morata has adapted to the Premier League, I didn't expect him to adapt. And maybe that has a lot to do with the Fernando Torres signing, and so the expectations maybe weren't as high. But he's really kind of seamlessly worked his way into that team, and to the point where Chelsea don't even miss Diego Costa yet, and they shouldn't miss Diego Costa because he's just been too disruptive, and clearly, he wasn't part of Conte's plans.
I'm quite looking forward to him coming back with Atletico Madrid, though. And,
well, if he does,
sticking it to Chelsea.
Well, either not sticking it to Chelsea, but just playing back in the Premier League. Hopefully, if he can get a game against anyone, really, because he's just such an angry character.
I'm glad to see the back of him.
I'm glad to see the back of him, but I'm looking forward to his return in one sort of capacity.
He always had Arsenal's number, and our players would always fall for it.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabriel the worst 2 years ago.
Sure.
But every team needs, I think that's what we lack. We don't lack a little bit, and I'm not saying a dirty player, but we don't we don't have a naughty player.
Yeah. Somebody who's unpleasant to other footballers.
Just a kind of a midfield strongman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like Vieira.
Yeah, we've never replaced him,
or even
really.
like Petit, who could do, or even like Ray Parlour.
Absolutely.
I mean, Alan Brazil's always making fun of Ray because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, he
but
is,
on the pitch,
yeah.
There were a couple of
He
occasions
was naughty, Ray
when
Parlour.
he did what had to be done.
Oh, he could put his foot in, couldn't
Van
he?
Nistelrooy wasn't very keen on him, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's right, absolutely.
That's what Arsenal lack. It's that, and also the Ray Parlours of the world, though. They had to really work hard to fit into that team.
Yeah.
But what they had was mental strength.
Yes.
That's what made players like Ray Parlour, who maybe weren't as talented as Patrick Vieira, fit in so well, because we had this mental strength. And part of Arsenal's problem over the last few seasons is our mental, the way we break down mentally. And I think the only time we've really shown and changed that is in these FA Cup finals. We've been able to adapt in the big game, the one-off game. Yeah. But whereas having that mental strength over 30, 6-8 games in a season plus all of the cup games and stuff, there's something about us where we just don't have the ability to keep it together.
You see, Jack Wilshere could have been that boy. Now, what's happened to Jack Wilshere? Because now the latest reports are that Jack Wilshere's now just going to see his contract out and then get the hell out of Arsenal and start all over again. But isn't that
Wenger was a bit non-committal about him the other day, wasn't he?
Well, this is something I've read about Jack's friends saying he just wants out now to start all over again. But I mean, I think Jack Wilshere's overrating himself now. Jack Wilshere is not the Jack Wilshere of 3 years ago.
He never quite got there, did he?
No.
It's a shame with Jack Wilshere because I think the last time we spoke, we talked about how he was really, the future of not only Arsenal, but potentially English football as well.
Absolutely.
And it's the injuries of what killed him. There's no doubt that he's had talent. A maturity off the pitch was not there in the early part of his career, and I think that hurt his how he took care of his body as well, and how he adapted himself to the game and being in that type of leadership role. But I also think sometimes Arsene Wenger uses those younger players too much. He did the same thing with Fabregas, and there's so much reliance on those players, and I think that's been a problem for him, and the injuries just haven't helped. Now, I think that he deserves one more shot. I've not been a fan, as you know, Mike. I've really ripped him to shreds in the past. I think, and I'm not saying like a game against Doncaster doesn't really say very much, but you could see in that game some of the touches, the pass to Giroud where he almost scored that wonderful goal that hit the bar. I feel like he still has some talent. And because Arsenal have lacked so badly in the midfield, why not give Jack Wilshere a shot when they've been playing so badly?
He is like
in that
the
area.
parable of the boy who wasted his talents, though. I mean, he really is, because you can see that he's got that skill, but he just hasn't got the, as you said before, mental strength, perhaps.
Or the application want to be a footballer off the pitch.
I think that's changed a little bit.
There's an element of that in Rooney as well. There's an element of that in Wayne Rooney.
Well, we haven't got time to talk about Rooney.
No.
We will later on in the show. Let's talk a little bit about Bob Bradley.
Yep.
You know, we used to make fun of him here, Bobcat Bob, as we used to call him, because he was
He wasn't popular, was he?
He really wasn't, but I think that was slightly racist, for want of a better word.
Well,
People
was
took
nationalist.
against him.
He was
People took against him because he was American.
That's right.
Simple as that.
We don't think
which was very
Americans
unfair.
can manage football teams.
And that's really unfair, isn't it?
I think it's true what he says. It is totally unfair and ridiculous, by the way.
Do you see it as someone like Sir Alex Ferguson trying to go over and manage an NFL team, or just try and manage MLS? Because I also think that people don't realise, and the MLS doesn't get the respect it deserves, that it's not an easy league to manage in. There's a lot of variables in MLS.
That's right. No, I think Americans are generally more open, actually. I think if Sir Alex Ferguson turned up, because he went to the Harvard Business School and lectured there for a while, people would see what this guy's achieved. They would say, this guy's a winner. Let's put him in charge of a sporting organisation. He clearly knows what he's doing. He may not know the ins and outs of the game, but they'd probably give him a much better chance than anybody here gave Bob Bradley.
I mean, and Bob Bradley is really one of the big names in American soccer and coaching. Obviously, he's done it at club and international level, and he's going to lead the charge with LAFC. And that's a franchise that's really going to, I think, do well in the market. And they're very cool. They're very hip. Their branding is awesome. Their marketing is on point.
And is Beckham going to be amongst them?
Well, Beckham is in Miami, so Beckham's got the team in Miami, and he's struggled a little bit to get things rolling there. But once he does, and then you have an owner like him, and you have coaches like Ziggy Schmidt back at LA Galaxy, I think that the league just continues to excel and grow. What they haven't had in the last couple seasons, as good as Javinko is and David Villa and players like that, I think they need another marquee signing. But what they need to do is get a marquee signing, and LAFC will sign someone big. There's no doubt about that. They've invested way too much. But they need a Beckham-esque type signing, and to bring a player who's still in not in the twilight of his career. I think that's always been the argument with MLS. But the attendances at a grassroots local level are good. Their promotional partners continue to grow. The expansion that we've seen in Atlanta, there were more games at the Atlanta-Orlando game last weekend than there was at City or United. It was an incredible achievement to see that kind of fandom in a city like Atlanta that really is known for its baseball, its football. It's really cool to see.
Okay, we've got to stop there because unbelievably we're practically out of time. Sophie Nicola's here. This is Talk Sport.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Let's dance to the song they're playing on the radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Thanks to Sophie Nicola for coming in. We just put a picture out on the Two Mics Twitter, at the Two Mics, of course. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to be doing heroes and villains in this hour. There's been plenty of them. And also, of course, it's going to be Porky Vision. The last one was literally award-winning, I think. So listen out for that. Not quite sure what we're going to be hearing about. But we're going to be talking more football coming up in this hour as well, particularly about Everton, maybe about Manchester City as well. 08717 22 3344. And as Sophie said, she's expecting Arsenal to get all 3 points tomorrow at the Emirates. So we shall see.
But you're not?
I'm not, no. Well, I've got this big treble on the go, which has got some quite long odds. And if I'm right, it'll be quite an extraordinary thing. But, you know, we shall see.
Now, the reason we played a bit of Bowie there, by the way.
Yes, Let's Dance.
Let's Dance is because there's a new book out about him. Yeah, it's David Bowie, A Life, by a guy called Dylan Jones.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Dylan
it's quite
Jones
famous.
is the former GQ editor, isn't he?
No, that wasn't Dylan Jones, was it?
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
I think that's Dylan Jones.
I thought it was Dylan somebody else. But one fact that came out of it is that at the height of David Bowie's cocaine addiction, he became convinced that Satan was living in his indoor swimming pool. And he got a priest round to exorcise the room because he thought he was living under the water. You know, Satan could take any form, and he'd take the form of liquid.
Well, I mean, David Bowie took so much cocaine during the filming of The Man Who Fell to Earth that apparently he didn't remember making it.
Oh, right, okay,
And it's one of those great movies that you watch and you go, this is incredible. And you look, I mean, I've watched it since I learned that fact.
I see.
And you can't
you
actually
look at him
tell.
in a different
Well, you can't actually
light.
tell.
Yeah.
Because he's such a weird guy in the movie anyway.
Yes.
But you certainly would not know that he was under the influence of some seriously damaging drugs.
Yes. It says here, excuse me, at the end of each day's work on Station to Station.
Yes.
Is that another film he made?
That's an album.
That's an album,
Yeah.
right, OK, right. At the end of each day's work on Station to Station, during which he laid out 4 piles of cocaine, one in each corner of the studio, so that he never had to move too far to powder his nose.
Yes.
David Bowie would go round the room picking up the rubbish. Then he'd go home and make Christmas cards. As studio owner Bruce Robb tells Dylan Jones in the latest book, autobiography, he was such a gentleman. But he was such a lot of things.
Well,
Jury's still out on whether David Bowie was really a homosexual. Does anybody care?
Well, I don't think anybody does care.
No. Bed with men who were pop guru. Sorry, it says here. Happy to go to bed with men who were. That's right. Sorry, end of sentence, OK? Pop guru Simon Napier Bell, so I'm not suggesting Simon Napier Bell was one of them, obviously, says he was offered a stake in the management of the young Bowie, for which payments would be made between the sheets. Mary Finnegan, Bowie's on-off lover in 1969, remembers Oliver composer Lionel Bart showing up at her flat, throwing her the keys to his white Rolls-Royce and telling David, "Please, sir, I want some more." So it was one of those weird rock and roll lives.
I think it was. And I mean, Bowie was a genuine genius, I think. Very few people could be described as a genius, but I think he can be. And, I mean, he pretty much did whatever he wanted. Got away with whatever he wanted. Went to live in America in the end because he loved the anonymity of New York City.
Yes, that's
he loved
right.
the idea that you could just walk around and nobody would bother you.
Yeah, he had a Caribbean idyll or a Caribbean retweet.
He had a place in Mustique,
Mustique, and
in fact, I walked past it one day.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
There.
After he died, Leslie Ann Jones, who was the sort of very well-known pop reviewer and...
Pop interviewer,
and all that kind of stuff. She was writing a book, and she met him in New York, and he said, well, you know, you need a decent sort of environment to write your book in. Here. And gave her the keys to the Mustique and said, stay there as long as you want.
She had some life, by the way. She was the woman from whom I got the interview with Jermaine Jackson.
Oh, right.
We then published it, and he denied ever saying it.
That's right, yeah, I remember that.
I remember getting a phone call from Philippa Kennedy one morning as I was about to go into work, and I'd only just started as the features editor of the Daily Express.
Yes.
And she said, "Are you listening to Capital Radio?" To which I said, "No, I'm not." She said, "Well, Jermaine Jackson's just been on there saying he's going to sue the Daily Express for $28 million."
Yeah, well, so it's just the odd $28 million, yeah.
But he never did, though.
Yeah.
He never did because he did say it. The only problem was that the interview was conducted by him with somebody that he didn't know was a journalist. It was one of those where she had sort of become friends with him.
Yeah, I see,
and he had told her all this stuff, but he didn't realise he was talking to a journalist.
It's funny you say that about Jermaine Jackson, because in one of the Sunday supplements this weekend, they did a big feature on what became of the Jackson 4 once Michael had not only left, but now died.
Are they not touring again?
They're touring again. Yeah, that's right, yeah. But, I mean, you see pictures of them now.
Yeah.
They look like 4 old blokes. They do not look like the Jackson 5. And so what I'm saying is that whilst the Osmonds just decided to all go their own way and do the various things, you know, little Jimmy Osmond and I think...
Donnie and Marie.
I think Donnie is now a DJ as well and all that.
Could be.
The Jackson brothers have stuck together and are still presenting themselves as the Jackson 4 or Jackson 5 minus Michael.
Yeah.
But he was the only thing that was important about the Jackson 5.
Well, I mean, also, I can't imagine going to see the Jackson 4
neither can
performing
I.
like ABC, which is like a really jaunty little pop song.
Well, the only reason you ever went to watch the Jackson 5 was because Michael Jackson fronted the group.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them once at Radio City.
Did you actually see them?
The Jackson 5.
Did you?
I've still got the programme,
Well, see, that's quite a big thing.
It was.
You've never told me you've seen the Jackson 5.
Yeah, I did, and I'm trying to remember the name of the tour, because what happened was, about every 3 years, his father would ring him up and say, "The boys are all broke, Michael. We've got to go on tour."
Yes.
He said, "I don't want to do it, Dad. I'm a single artist now." He said, "No, but I haven't got any money. You've got to." And he said, "Well, why can't they go on tour on their own?" He said, "Because nobody will buy any tickets, Michael. You know, you've got to be you."
Well, they came in here, apparently, you know, because they were on tour.
That's right,
I think they were due to play the O2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they came in here, and apparently, the highlight of that was they were in the sort of kitchen area, which is not the cleanest place in the world, so I'm surprised they took them in there. But apparently, you know that water machine that sits there? which quite half the time is never working.
That's
anyway.
right, yeah.
But apparently they spent about 10 minutes trying to work out where the coffee came out.
That's
of it.
right, yeah.
They thought it was a coffee machine.
Sure, it was a coffee machine.
Why is this thing not giving us any coffee?
In Radio City, it was a very dramatic concert.
I'm sure it was.
You know, about 15 minutes after they should have come on stage, the lights go down, and then the spotlights come on the stage, and then the music starts, and they'd fitted an hydraulic lift, and they came up from under the stage with Michael Jackson standing at the front, looking exactly like he looked in Thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was incredible. His presence alone, you know, in the theatre just sent everybody wild.
Yeah.
But, nobody ever watched any of the others because none of us could dance or sing or anything, you know.
Well, they were pretty good dancers and they were pretty good singers, but as you say, they were not the superstar. Dylan Jones is, in fact, the ex-editor.
Oh, right,
of GQ,
okay, yeah.
by the way, same guy.
Well, it says here
He's a good
also,
writer, so it'll be very good, that.
Yeah, it says in the review of the book, by the time David Bowie found fame, he seems to have been nothing but a straight ladies' man. Groupie after groupie lines up to tell Dylan Jones precisely what Bowie got up to after he'd come off stage. It seems he was up for anything. Well, not quite anything. One girl remembers being in Bowie's hotel room in Philadelphia in 1972 when there was a knock on the door. He opened it and was greeted by, 18 months later, could be seen singing to a skull on the Diamond Dogs tour. Did it give him the idea?
I shouldn't think so.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. No.
What a bizarre story.
Exactly.
Did you pick that one out deliberately?
Well, no, it was in the review of the book, so I thought I'd better tell you about it.
It's a family show, this, you know.
It's a family show,
It's not talking about dead bodies and skulls.
No, exactly.
And all that sort of business. Shocking business.
Yeah.
Lots of good tweets coming in. There's a whole conversation going on about the MLS because we were talking about Bobcat Bob.
Yeah.
Will says this: I'm not bashing my countrymen, but the best MLS side might barely stay up in the championship. Well,
no, I think that's right. I
don't know if you can say that. It's a different level of football, but it's also a different style of football. And don't forget, the USA national side has done very well in the last few World
quarterfinals
Cups.
of the World Cups.
Yeah, they've done a lot better than England have.
They have. They have on one occasion.
So don't be too dismissive.
Yeah. No, I'm not being dismissive, but the MLS teams, the backbone of them are overseas players. And I think when Sophie said, they need a new superstar to go there, I think they had their eyes on Ibrahimovic, didn't they?
Zlatan.
Yeah, Zlatan, because I think they thought that his time at United was up and he'd go there. And then, of course, Jose wanted him to come back.
Well, he had that injury, didn't he? And everyone assumed that would be the end of his career.
Yeah.
But being the Superman that he is, it would appear that that's not the end of his career.
That's right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him still end up in the US because it's the sort of place you can see him succeeding.
Yes.
Can't see him going to China, really.
Not really.
But I can see him succeeding in America.
Yes.
We shall see.
Yes.
Anyway, lots more tweets and texts to read out. Got a great one here from Vicky, who says, if you take Porky's directions, then you can come visit me in Scotland.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you might just miss Tyneside on the way up north.
Exactly right.
Yeah, quite right.
Newcastle fans, we still want to hear from you about the Rafa Benitez situation.
Yep.
Also, we're going to do Porky Vision. We've got Heroes and Villains. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Ben says this: a great show this evening. Love the New York City show as well. Any chance of a show down in the Bristol, Cardiff area?
Well,
probably not this year.
Not this year.
Because this year is drawing to a close, is it not?
And we've got one show. It's the only show we've been able to fit in Britain this year. It's in Shepherd's Bush, London, on the Sunday before Christmas, which is November the 17th? December, sorry.
17th.
December the 17th,
Week
that's
before
right.
Christmas.
And,
get all your shopping done in Saturday.
Exactly.
Come to the show on the Sunday night.
Show on the Sunday night. And without wishing to panic anybody, ticket sales are extremely brisk. I can only say that. It's one of the biggest venues we've done.
Yeah.
I think there's over 1,000 people going to be there, but that's great. Now, I need to tell you about before we talk more football, about a bit of a domestic situation I had today.
Domestic situation? Bad or good domestic situation?
Well, I'll let you make your mind up on that. Now, we came back from America sort of the middle of last week, or Tuesday anyway.
We got back Monday night,
so
didn't
it's Tuesdays when you start thinking about... I mean, I'm terrible for unpacking cases, you know what I mean?
Tuesday was a bit of a recovery day.
It was a recovery day, I think you're right, absolutely. It was a strenuous 5 days.
Certainly was.
And And I'd forgotten that my housekeeping lady, who normally comes at the weekend and sorts everything out, wasn't going to be here because she's gone to a friend's wedding.
What?
She's gone to a friend's wedding.
You gave her the weekend off?
Yes, I did,
That's a shocking state of affairs.
Well, no, I mean, I'm very...
well, how old is she, this woman? How was your friend's wedding?
Well, I'm not going into that, am I? I mean,
no, because the thing is, you go through periods of your life when all your friends are getting married, right?
No, this was a friend of her daughter's wedding or something like that. You see what I mean? One of those sort of situations,
Yeah.
So anyway... So I only realised that sort of on Friday. I thought, oh dear. So then I thought, look, I suppose I better unpack this case, So I did.
Right.
And that meant that she's coming tomorrow. And she said, look, why don't you put the shirt in the machine? And I said, well, I'm not sure how it works,
What do you mean you're not sure? Well, you don't know how the washing machine works.
Well, it's a new one. It's a new one. So, and ever since...
One? I thought you just got a new one a little while ago.
That's what I mean. I got it this year, early this year.
Okay.
So I've never used it.
So it's now the 9th month of this year.
Yeah, that's
September.
Right. Yeah.
And you haven't figured out how to use the washing machine.
Well, I don't use it. Why should I use it? So I
use my own washing machine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I have a housekeeper, so that's why I don't have to use it. So she said, "Why don't you put them in and just and then bring them out, hang them, and then I can get on with them tomorrow." I said, "Okay, it's a good idea." Yeah. So anyway,
so did you have to grab the manual?
Well, no, I figured it out. I'm quite smart than the average bear. I mean, I can work out how
you can work out how to use a machine,
a washing machine. Yeah. So anyway, so I was in the kitchen looking at some of my journals because it's Sunday, obviously.
Sunday journals.
Yeah, and the machine was going round, and there was this terrible knocking noise.
Right.
I mean, knock, 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 knock. And yeah. And I thought, I wonder what's going on there.
Pathetic, isn't it?
So I rang her.
Is your washing machine, by the way, in the... There was a big row about...
Oh, yeah. No, it's in the kitchen.
It's in the kitchen. So that makes you, in terms of Kirsty Allsop, an idiot. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Or a person with a crummy house or something. Yeah.
Well, that's about right.
So I rang the housekeeper.
What, when she was away?
Yeah. But
well, you want to bring her on a mobile while she's at a friend's wedding?
Yeah. But she answered it. She always answers my calls.
Unbelievable.
Could be and I said, hello.
How do you address her?
Well, I said hello by her Christian name. Yeah, but I'm not going to give
what
that
is that?
away. Well, I'm not going to say.
Nora.
No, it's not Nora. No, and I said, look, I'll put the
Bridget.
I put the shirt in the washing machine. I said, but there's a terrible knocking noise. I said, is there something wrong with the machine?
Yeah.
She said, no. She said, it's a new machine. It's fine. It works perfectly. It's a very good machine. And I said, what's the knocking noise then?
Yeah. Well, how would she know?
Well, that's exactly it. And
you must have put something stupid in there, like a coin or something, right?
No, I put the phone near to the machine, so this is the knocking sound.
You're hopeless.
Yeah. So she's
just hopeless.
She said, sounds to me like you've left something in the machine. I said, well, I only put the shirt in.
Yeah.
Anyway, she said, observe it, for 30 seconds. You might see something coming round.
Yeah.
So I did, and guess what?
What was a skull in there?
No, it wasn't a skull. No, guess what it was? What? Remember when we were in New York?
Yeah.
And we went up to Strawberry Fields?
Yes, we did.
I bought a couple of John Lennon badges.
That's right, yeah.
And put them on my shirt.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot to take it off, yeah.
Oh,
so about every 30 seconds, I saw a Strawberry Fields Forever badge, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'd left in there. But anyway...
so has the badge survived intact?
It's survived intact. And...
you brought it with you?
I'm wearing it now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, if I show you here, you see.
Okay, all right, I'll take a picture of that.
Yeah.
This was the place where you walked past the badge seller.
That's right.
And decided that you didn't want to buy a badge. And then we walked past him about 5 minutes later. You said, actually, I think I will get one.
I will, yeah. Well, I thought I should, as a memorandum.
You think a bit old to wear John Lennon's badge?
Yeah, probably I am. But, I mean, ageing hippies wear badges, and I'm not an ageing hippie. I'm an ageing Beatle fan.
You're
just
aging.
What I mean? No, I don't think so.
I'll tell you what, last night,
yes,
I got a bit fed up with watching, the latest show that I'm watching is called The Good Wife.
Oh, The Good Wife.
Which is very good. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's a very good film. Series. There's 7 series, right? But I watched about 3 in a row and I thought, I've had enough of this. And I found, that great Scorsese movie about George Harrison?
Yes.
That's on Netflix now. So if you ever want to watch that one night...
Is it?
You just
Is
have a
it
look
called
at
The Dark Horse or something? Or something about a horse, because you wrote a song about a horse.
Something like that, yeah. But it's very good. I had it on DVD and I watched it a couple of times. It was great. And I thought of you, of course, because there was lots of interviews early on with Lennon and McCartney. And, it was just tremendous.
I know.
So have a look. But listen, enough about Liverpudlian musicians, because it's time to talk about Liverpudlian footballers.
It is, yeah.
Because Wayne Rooney, it seems to me, and I'm sort of bang on about Wayne Rooney, because people get fed up talking about Everton when you're on this show, right? But Wayne Rooney...
Well, I don't talk about it a lot. I try not to, but you are always pushing me on it, you see.
Now, well, I'm not always pushing you on it. What I'm saying, I didn't think you would survive Saturday, because as I was heading off to down at Sussex,
yes,
and I got down there just before, I suppose, the 3 o'clock kickoff, and I saw Bournemouth had gone 1 up.
Just after half time.
I thought, you're not going to make this.
Well, I sent out a tweet then saying a dark cloud has just descended over my head.
Yeah.
Please, why is this happening to me? I'm good to, homeless people and all this kind of stuff. You then sent a rude retort and said, no, you're not, and all that kind of stuff, And then, fortunately, Everton got back, but they got back through the most unlikely avenue of a player that had virtually been banished from the club.
A player that Ronald Koeman, I think I'm right in saying,
had
already said has no future at Everton.
It literally did say that. Yeah, literally said no future at Everton. Well, he's now become the saviour of Everton.
Well, they can't let him go now, can they?
No, well, I wouldn't have thought so.
Koeman, who we talked quite a lot about last week, because you were quite down in the mouth about the whole Koeman experiment and the whole kind of,
Well, of course I was, because
situation.
we were in the relegation zone.
Yes. Now, in terms of the Rooney situation, what I was going to say to you was that a lot of Everton fans that I saw over the weekend were saying actually Everton played better when he went off.
Well,
and is there now going to be, a possibility that Koeman will stop starting every single game with him and make him the super sub instead of what he is now?
Maybe. He had an interesting game, Rooney, because he got clobbered in the face. I didn't think it was a foul. He was adamant it was a foul, and he rushed to the referee and said, I'd got elbowed in the face.
Right.
Frankly, I thought it was just a collision.
It's just one of those things.
I think it was a flailing arm. I don't think it was deliberate.
It didn't look good, did it? I mean, it's not good ever to see blood on the on the pitch.
No, I totally agree. But then he came off towards the end, and
but didn't they look better to you when he came off?
Well, it doesn't matter whether I say they look better or not. The facts are that they played better when Wayne Rooney and who else went off?
I don't know. You're the Everton fan.
Calvert-Lewin, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. And then Tom Davies and Niasse came on, OK? And then all of a sudden they changed it. Tom's got tremendous energy in the middle. Niasse was rushing around all over the place trying to prove himself. Scored 2 goals and suddenly turned it round. So from that point of view, my belief is always that if you've found a pattern that works and substitutes came on and rescued the game and proved that there's a plan B, then stick with plan B at the start of the next game because that's the way it's worked.
You would think so.
Well, we're playing Burnley at home on Saturday, right? 3 o'clock kick-off. I'm going to try and get up there.
Start with the team that ended the game.
Well, I think so. I think you have to, don't you? Because I think you have to say, well, that worked, actually, and that was plan B.
Yeah.
So we'll give plan B a go and see what happens.
Well, it strikes me, and I'm sorry to go into the old psychological areas again, but it seems to me that, the people who wanted Wayne Rooney to come back and were so terribly excited about the return of the prodigal son and all that, must be still pretty disappointed, one, with what's happened off the field, and two, despite the 2 goals that he scored fairly early on, quite disappointed with his form since that episode, because he hasn't really been himself, it seems to me.
Well, I think there's got to be a settling in period, and that's for all Everton's new signings.
Really?
Yeah, well, I think there has to be, because you're putting half a new team into an old team and asking them all to play together again. That's going to take time to bed in. There's no doubt about it. But there has been a disappointing element to the way Everton started the season. I hope that this turning point now is this victory.
Yeah.
Hope we beat Burnley, with no disrespect to Burnley. Great club, Sean Dyche. Done a great job.
But a very difficult club to play against, actually.
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. As we were talking earlier, they went to Chelsea on day one and managed to shock the footballing world by win at the home of the Premier League champions.
Yeah.
So they're not a pushover by any means, and you shouldn't, under any circumstances, say, well, that's a home game, it's against unfashionable Burnley, that bags us 3 points. No way in the world should you take that attitude.
Well, let's see if Everton fans agree. I'm thinking that there might be some who wish Wayne Rooney had not come back, but at the moment certainly would not want him to start every single game. 08717 22 3344 is the number to call us on. We've got heroes and villains coming up in a little while. I mean, never know. Maybe Wayne Rooney will make his way into the villains section.
Well,
but that might be a bit unkind.
That's been presumptuous.
That might be a bit unkind.
Certainly won't make his way into the villains section of my heroes and villains. No way.
Okay.
No way.
You've got some other villains lined up.
Definitely have, yeah.
Okay. Well, that is, of course, judged by Ross, the producer, who happens to be an Everton fan.
Yes.
I don't hold out too much hope. After winning the 1 minute moan on Saturday, that he's going to be anything but completely and utterly biased.
I thought my moan was much better, by the way.
Your moan was awful.
No, it wasn't.
I can't remember what it was about.
It was about Nigella Lawson's cookbook.
Oh, yeah, right. Because you don't like making mashed potatoes.
Well, I just think it's daft to have 4 pages on mashed potatoes.
So don't buy the book.
Well, I'm not going to.
Well,
I read a
what are you
review of
moaning
it.
about?
Well, I mean, I don't think...
Why are you reading a review of a cookbook that you're never going to buy?
Because I think that it's got to the stage now where Nigella Lawson could be writing books about things that are so obvious it's not a cookbook anymore.
You don't know how to mash potatoes, though. You buy them in a packet and you add water.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So maybe you should buy the book and learn how to do it properly.
No, it always tastes good.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have no taste buds. This is Talk Sport. That song, of course, is a Beach Boys song, and it tells us that it's time to do Heroes and Villains.
Certainly is.
We've had winners and losers on Friday. We've had the 1 minute moan on Saturday. Now it's time for Heroes and Villains. There's plenty of them. This is where we name 2 nominations each.
Yes.
2 heroes, 2 villains, and producer Ross behind the glass will decide which one is better. I think I'm right in saying that you're marginally ahead in this as well, aren't you?
That's right.
Is it like, what is it, 3-1 or 3-2?
3-2, I think, something like that.
3-2.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you like to go first with 1 hero or 1 villain, or whatever
I'll go with a hero.
Okay.
And it may sound obvious, but it's a very worthy nomination.
I see.
I'm talking about Nyasi, absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Nyasi. Your new hero because he scored the winning goal.
We scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And he pulled Everton from a 1-0 deficit to a 2-1 victory. He did that despite the fact, the reason why he's a real hero is that after the game, despite the fact he'd been actually ostracised by Mr. Koeman, who called him into, who didn't even bother calling him into his office a year ago, right?
Yeah.
But on the actual training field, at Everton's training field, he actually said, "Look, I'm sorry, but you have no part in my plans for the future. Tomorrow, can you train with the under-21s, please?"
And when did he tell him this? Last year?
Last year, a year ago, about a year ago. And he said, and by the way, we haven't got a squad number for your locker. We've had an application from Hull for you to go out on loan. So you go in there. Okay, sorry about that. But so yesterday, after he scored these 2 goals, became the hero of Goodison Park.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody knew the treatment he'd endured.
Yes.
So I asked him after the game, you must feel, very sore about the way you were treated by Mr. He said, "I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry."
Really?
I don't know what you're talking about. He denied it. So I don't know what you're talking about.
That's quite clever, isn't it?
And that's great. And for that reason...
Does that mean it didn't happen then? Or is he just
No, it did happen.
glossing over it?
Everybody knew it happened.
Right.
And because it was reported at the time and never challenged by Mr. Koeman.
No.
But he said, "I don't know about it." So he was determined to say, "Look, that was last year, and this is this year, and I'm getting on with the job."
So basically, he's kind of bottled it, hasn't he, Koeman? He's going to have to keep him on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think so. I think he is. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say that my first hero is actually more than one person because it's all those people at Wembley that we talked about a little bit earlier on. All these NFL players who took it amongst themselves to use Wembley as the place that they wanted to make this big statement, anti-Trump statement, pro sort of racial harmony statement. Whether or not they're doing the right thing, whether or not it turns out that it's a stupid idea, is not my point. My point is that they put themselves out there because, of course, the President of the United States is calling for all NFL franchises to fire them if they do it. Now, I don't know whether it's a good idea. I don't know whether it's going to gain any credence, whether or not it's going to change anything. But at the moment, they seem to have the sort of the good guys on their side. They seem to have the zeitgeist, and so the players from Baltimore, the Baltimore Ravens, and from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think our heroes, not just for doing it, but also for kind of putting, in a way, and I know this is going to sound a bit silly, but putting Wembley Stadium as a place right on the map, right in the centre of the map in the United States of America, where previously I'm sure they'd never heard of it.
Right, okay.
There you go.
Fine, okay. My second, how many do we have? 2 or 3?
2 of each.
Right, so my second hero is the actress Suran Jones.
Oh, yeah.
She plays Dr. Foster.
You're a bit obsessed with her, aren't you?
Well, it is such a brilliant production, right? And it's now halfway through. And outstanding acting talent, outstanding interpretation.
I thought you said it turned a bit weird.
No, well, it has. It has turned a bit weird, but nevertheless, she is the most spellbinding actress that I think we've ever seen on television for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And she's lifted the level of the quality of television single-handedly.
Really?
But she's also... apparently, because, I keep in touch with all these things, raised an issue about revenge sex, which, I didn't know anything about because this is a family show and we don't talk about it.
That's not the sort of thing we talk about.
But that's not the sort of thing we talk about.
No.
But, I mean, that's just a side issue. The point is...
Any kind of sex would be right for
Sorry?
you, revenge or otherwise.
Revenge sex, yeah, just settle for any kind of sex, I suppose. But And for that reason, for the reason that she's an outstanding actress and has made this her own, she deserves the accolade of heroine.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go with an actor.
Yes.
But not as a hero, as an actual villain, right?
Yes.
And this actor I've got in mind is Colin Firth.
Oh, yes,
Do
Colin
you know
Firth.
why? Because although he is an Oscar-winning actor, despite the fact that he is very, very famous for playing sort of great British roles.
Yes.
He's played the King. Of course, he was in Pride and Prejudice.
Yep.
He was famous for emerging from the lake. Every woman in the world thinks it's one of the greatest images of all time.
Yeah.
He's become an Italian citizen.
Yes.
As the Interior Ministry of Italy has now confirmed.
Yes.
Partly because he is married, of course, to an Italian woman who is his wife, right? But also, after the referendum last year, in which the great British people decided to vote to leave the European Union, he said he wanted to go and become a citizen of a European nation, which was still in the European Union, because he thought that the referendum result was, quotes, a disaster.
Yes.
He said Brexit does not have a single positive aspect. Many colleagues, including your favourite woman, Emma Thompson, are like me, enthusiastic Europeans.
Yes, I've seen.
Now, I mean, he's very welcome to do it, but I have to say, becoming an Italian citizen, I mean, does he have any idea how Italy is run?
Yes.
I mean, Italy is not exactly the best run country in the entire world, right?
No, it's a
and
shambles.
the idea that he's now got a sort of, citizenship with Italy is extraordinary.
Yeah, it is extraordinary.
I find it absolutely extraordinary.
Didn't the last guy who did something as mad as that, wasn't it the great French actor who became Russian?
Eh? Depardieu.
Yeah, the Depardieu.
He was usually to be found drunk as a skunk.
Yeah, he was.
Hanging around airports.
Yeah, that's right, but he became
Falling
Russian.
about on, did he?
Yeah, he so objected to the French political system. He said he thought Putin was a great guy and he applied for Russian citizenship and got it. Yeah.
He says, like almost everybody, I have a passionate love of Italy and joining my wife and kids in being dual citizens will be a huge privilege.
Yes, well, there you go.
And he's got a lovely holiday home in Umbria.
Well,
jolly good for you, Colin.
Yeah. Haven't most of the liberal... My first villain, Sir Michael Fallon.
Sir Michael Fallon?
Yeah, he is the Defence Secretary.
I was going to say former cabinet member, probably still.
He's a cabinet member. He is the UK Defence Secretary, who has just announced that we're flogging the only real warship we've got, which is HMS Ocean, which has just been out in the Caribbean, from which helicopters have been flying and helping and aiding. I mean, it's a wreck of a ship anyway, because it should be an aircraft. Well, it should be a helicopter carrier, but we haven't got enough helicopters to put on it.
Is it a helicopter carrier? Can't you just put helicopters on any kind of boat?
It
have to be a proper,
well, not really, because most of the ships, like the new ones, T-45s, only have a helicopter pad for one helicopter, or one in storage and one on the pad. This has 6 helicopters, Space 4 on the roof.
Okay.
But now decide we're going to scrap it. And this is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Not only are we scrapping that, we're selling it to the Brazilians, apparently. Sorry, we're scrapping HMS Ocean. We're selling another of our warships to the Brazilians, cut price. Because once again, we're saying we haven't got enough money to run them. We've got enough money for, things like overseas aid for a bloated welfare state, for, projects which, like National Health Service computers, which cost up to 12 billion quid, and then we ditch them because they don't work.
Yes,
I mean, it's
right,
outrageous.
It is.
The level of spending of government is so incompetent to ditch the only warship we've got. It's all very well saying, yes, but we've got 2 new aircraft carriers. They're not in commission for another 3 or 4 years. They look very pretty sitting in Portsmouth Harbour, but they can't do any fighting at the moment, so forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sorry, Sir Michael Fallon, Defence Secretary, you are number 1 villain.
Number 1 villain. Now, my second villain is not one person, but 4 people.
Right.
Now, these people, you will find hard to find more planks in one particular group.
Right.
4 hikers, right?
Yes.
They decide to go up Scafell Pike.
Scafell Pike,
which is up in the Lake District,
That's right.
The northwest of England, the highest mountain in England, right?
Yes.
However, they had to call for rescue services, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because they were too stoned to get back down the hill.
Right.
They'd smoked too much cannabis.
Yes.
And they couldn't find their way back down the mountain.
They were wandering around the Lake District smoking cannabis?
Yes.
That's outrageous.
A spokesman for the police force up there in Cumbria said persons are phoning Cumbria police because they are stuck on a mountain after taking cannabis.
Yeah.
We now have to deploy mountain rescue, air support and ambulance to rescue them.
Right.
Words fail us.
Right.
The men were brought safely down to safety at 9:45 in the evening. And, it just beggars belief.
Yeah,
You've
it
often
does.
said
Yeah.
that people that go off on sort of ridiculous jaunts across the sea
Yes.
that need to be rescued
Yeah, absolutely.
should be somehow fined or made to pay.
Absolutely.
I mean, how about these guys?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Four
Yeah.
men getting so stoned on cannabis that
Yeah.
they couldn't find their way back.
Yeah.
So they had to call for a rescue.
It is absolutely
Isn't that outrageous?
I totally agree.
So they're my villains.
Absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
Right, okay. My second villain is President Hassan Husseini.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's probably actually his name's President Hassan Rouhani.
Rouhani. Who is
yeah.
it? Roddy Irani.
No, no. It's President Hassan Rouhani, and he runs Iran.
Does he?
And they've decided
sure?
they've decided to cozy up to Young Song Hun. What's his name? Who? The leader of North
You've got
Korea.
names in here.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un.
You mean Kim Jong-un?
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
And have started testing missiles, ballistic missiles, from their own territory, which can reach other countries in the Middle East. This escalates the fear that Kim Jong-un, if he's suddenly acquired an ally in the world who thinks that him firing missiles over Japan and that sort of thing are a good thing, is going to make him even more mad and nutty than he is.
Right.
Remember, this is a man who described...
I'm sure you're all over the place.
No, this is a man who described the President of America, Donald Trump, as a dotard.
Yeah, dotard. What does that mean?
Mentally deranged US dotard.
Okay.
The what's a dotard? The Oxford English Dictionary defines the word as an old person, especially one who's become weak and senile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I'm confused. So who's the villain? Is it Kim
The villain is
Jong-un?
President Hassan Rouhani of Iran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You.
My final hero,
Yes.
because I need one more hero, is Pep Guardiola.
Oh, yeah.
You might remember a few weeks ago.
Well, crikey, you said he wasn't going to last the season.
I did not say that. You see, once again, you're oversimplifying my argument. What I said was, I see there's trouble behind the scenes at Manchester City. I still believe that, Manchester City fans are sort of used to being in the driver's seat. I think they prefer to be the underdog. I don't think they like the level of success that they've been having recently.
Yeah.
And that was my point. Anyway, since that day, right, Manchester City have scored 22 goals in 5 games and only conceded 1. Right, and have a sort of a 100% winning record.
Yep.
And Pep Guardiola was clearly doing something right, and I think he did it just to prove me wrong.
Yes.
Which, in a way, makes him a hero of mine.
Do you know who scored 5 of those goals?
De Bruyne, isn't it?
No, Raheem Sterling.
Oh, has he?
And I would have nominated him as a hero if I hadn't nominated the other footballer, the Everton.
This is the Raheem Sterling guy that you said wouldn't score 5 goals in the Premier League about 2 seasons ago.
Well, he did only score 5 that season.
No, he scored plenty of goals more than you said he would
No, he
score.
didn't, honestly. He scored the same number, and he scored 3 in one game.
No, you got it wrong. Why
I
don't you
didn't.
just admit
I
that
didn't
you got
get
it wrong?
I didn't get it wrong.
Anyway, those are my heroes. Those are your villains.
Yes.
And my heroes and villains as well.
Yes.
Ross will decide after this.
Of course.
Who is the winner.
Here in my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors. It's the only way to live in cars. Here in my car, I can only receive.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics, and of course, Porky Vision's coming up in the next hour as well. We've got loads of great tweets coming in. I am absolutely delighted to tell you, however, that I've just been informed by Ross, the producer, that my Heroes and Villains has been the victor.
What a load of rubbish.
Well, I'm sorry you're so ungrateful about it and unable to congratulate me. Whenever you win, I always say, well done.
No, you don't.
I always say it's good
but you
that
don't
you've
mean
won
it. You don't mean it. You speak with forked tongue, fat face.
See, that's the way you are when you lose. It's horrible, isn't it? Absolutely disgusting. But never mind. So that makes it 3-3, doesn't it?
3-3.
Yeah. Now, I've got a couple of things to tell you related to electric cars, because you know how we like to carry on and keep our interest up in whatever is going on in the electric car business. Do you know that your beloved Mercedes, right, are going to try and plot a Tesla attack by investing $1 billion in a plant in America? I believe it's in Alabama. They're going to create 600 jobs to make electric SUVs, sport utility vehicles, so like their M-Class things to go up against Tesla. Because you know what? Tesla have actually produced this amazing sort of 4x4 car.
Yeah.
And it's selling so well in America that it's outselling the Mercedes and BMW equivalent cars. Isn't that incredible?
Well, that's because everybody's been taken in by the ridiculous notion that we can run all the cars in the world on electricity, which we simply don't have. I read today that one of the biggest oil companies, and I can't remember which one it is, Shell or BP or something like that, but I can't remember which it is now have unveiled plans for the first electric charge only fuel station.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
well,
it won't be any
happen.
petrol or diesel.
That will
there.
happen. And also, do you know one of the news stories that I saw today, which was sent to me, tweeted to me by someone, is that there's now a strip of. Do you know how we've always said, well, how are they going to get all the electricity for this?
Yeah.
There's a strip of road in the Midwest in America now, which they're trying out by putting
it's
solar
like Sky
panels.
Electrics.
Yeah, they're putting solar panels on the road.
It's like Sky Electric.
Which will actually be charging up for the electric cars
the car
as the car drives on.
Will have a trailing lead which just touches the road. And that sends...
Well, that's amazing.
Do you remember years ago when your mother used to drive you around Europe on holidays, family holidays and all that? Excuse me. Did you ever have a chain on the back of the car to touch the road because that was supposed to stop you from getting car sick?
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't that. What I used to see people used to have like a leather strap.
Yeah.
Which had some effect where it's
supposed to take the static electricity out of the car
something
and
like
feed
that,
it into the road.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But no, I think so. So what I'm saying is to you, as I had said to you before, is that the more and more kind of innovation that is introduced, the more likely this is all to happen and to work.
Yes.
Because I realise that we don't currently have the technology. What I'm saying is it now looks as though we are now going to have the technology, and with every sort of month that passes. There's more ways of generating electricity.
Yeah.
More of the big companies are actually investing more and more money into electric cars, and it's going to happen.
Yeah, but did you see the report that was published while we were away in America? Because I got a copy of it and I got back. The scientists who said, we've got to impose huge green taxes to stop people wasting energy because with climate change and all that, the world's burning up. They've got it all wrong. They've got it all completely wrong.
Yeah, but the point is that, things are changing at such a rapid rate that to judge them on current sort of, electricity delivery systems and to judge them on the way that electric cars currently work is entirely wrong, because the advances that are going to be made in the next 10 years will make it a lot easier.
Yeah, well,
That's
it won't,
what I've
you
been
see.
saying.
You're all living in cloud cuckoo land. Listen to this.
So Mercedes are wrong to spend $1 billion and invest money in electric cars.
I think Mercedes must be off their rocker to think that all cars can be run on electricity. There simply is not enough electricity in the world.
Yes, but I've just been
to
explaining to you that they're going to find new ways of doing it.
Oh, are they? Have you spoken to the scientists who are going to find these new ways?
Well, I've just told you that they've now put electric charge on a road.
So what, man? You get on a train and you go,
what?
Yeah, and you go up and north in north and south in this country. And you pass all these fields full of solar panels.
You just keep making the same argument.
No, solar panels don't do anything.
Yes,
they produce about 0.00001% of electricity, and it's the most expensive way of doing it.
But are you incapable of understanding that progress will make it better, will make it easier, and will provide more ways of generating electricity?
Cuckoo land. That's just a fantasy you've made up in your head.
No, it's not a
fantasy. All these half-bakes who put, solar panels on the roof of their house.
You're such an ignorant man.
No,
you really are.
These sort of misguided loonies who say instead of having a roof, we'll have solar panels on the house. A, they're massively expensive to install. B, they are totally inefficient and don't even heat water. And C,
incorrect.
The idea is that you have to rely on electricity, and eventually the house will collapse. Now, listen to this. Green taxes on energy bills should be cut immediately in the light of a scientific report that said global warming is less drastic than feared, OK? Around 10%, I will add to that, experts claimed yesterday from this report.
These experts, presumably the ones that know what they're talking about, because you agree with them, as opposed to the experts that I'm talking about, who you disagree with.
But you haven't produced any experts or reports. You've just made it up.
I've just told you that Mercedes are investing $1 billion and creating 600 jobs in Alabama. If Mercedes don't know anything about cars, then I'm a Dutch uncle.
You keep repeating that. And
well, that's the story.
Also, shall we also remember that Alabama is one of the hottest places in the world? There's very few places with an average mean temperature as hot as Alabama.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, it's because you're talking about solar panels.
No, I'm not.
How do you think that's going to work in Bradford?
You're not even listening to me.
How do you think that's going to work in the Lake District?
You're not even listening
How's
to me.
How's it going to work in Manchester when it rains?
Let me say this in very
300 days
short
a year.
words of one syllable or less. It's got nothing to do with solar panels. This is a Mercedes electric car factory. They're creating 600
jobs. And then you
jobs.
told me about a road in America that's made of solar panels.
You lost the plot or something tonight.
Won't work.
Weatherspoons all day.
No.
I'm trying to tell you that they are building electric cars in America because they believe that they need to come up against Tesla, who are currently outselling Mercedes and BMW because so many people are buying their cars.
Well, it must be happening in California where most people are mad anyway.
Not true.
But I mean, half of America sounds like
pathetic.
It's taking a deranged pill.
You are pathetic.
No, well, listen to the rest of my report, please.
Why is your report any more important than the one I just
Because
told
you've
you
had
about?
yours say and I'm having mine.
Okay.
Around 10% of a family's energy bill, roughly £111 a year, is used to subsidise renewable energy, according to official figures, OK?
Yes.
But critics now say this should be reduced because it's based on outdated information. Excuse me. They point out that the taxes further push up the cost of living as companies in the public sector pass the cost on to consumers. Nearly all of the world's governments are signed up to the 2015 Paris Agreement, which aimed to limit global warming to 1.5 centigrade above pre-industrial levels. Many commentators believe this was practically impossible, but now a leading group of climate researchers has said the computer projections used in previous studies were too pessimistic and the 1.5 centimetre target is achievable, providing strict cuts to carbon dioxide.
Yes.
So how about that?
Well, you haven't named who these people are, these esteemed scientists.
The Committee on Climate Change, which advises the government on climate policy.
So what's their argument? Their argument is that the climate is not changing as much as they thought it was.
John Constable, Chief Executive of the Renewable Energy Foundation, which opposes subsidies to wind farms, said this research has confirmed what a lot of people have known. What is significant is establishment figures are now admitting it. Policymakers should stop panicking and focus on cutting costs to consumers. The researchers, in an article in the journal, one of my journals, Nature Geoscience, had said the world can emit around 240 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide, around 20 years of current emissions, and still meet the target.
I see. So it's all about targets. It's not actually about reality.
No, it's about
reality. Let me read you a
reality.
couple of tweets out. Why is Parry so argumentative, says Barry. He thinks he's never wrong.
No.
Well, unfortunately, that's a personality defect. Here's one from Verminator. Porky's very aggressive tonight, abusing MG for winning heroes and villains. Has he been on the funny pills again?
No.
And Alan says, if Porky was around when the internal combustion engine was made, he'd have been championing the horse.
Yes.
Which is true.
Yes.
Now, how about this for a shout-out as well, because we have to do this one. This is for Lucy, who's celebrating her 29th birthday.
Is that Lucy Cox?
Today. It is Lucy Cox.
Lucy,
she says,
a very
"Hi,
happy
to my-
birthday."
Please wish me a happy 29th birthday during tonight's show. Celebrating later at a place where we don't necessarily want to give it away, but she says #Bladdo.
Okay.
So she may well be bladderated by now.
Okay, Bladdo in Modo, Lucy. Have a very happy birthday, my dear, and have a great life.
29 is not a bad age, is it?
It's not a bad age. Now, what about this one here? Hang on. You've taken it away.
What?
It's somebody who said I won Heroes and Villains by a mile.
I haven't taken
But
anything
you've taken it away.
No, you just can't read the screen. Here's one from Steptoe. It says, Porky sounds highly strung tonight.
No, I'm not highly strung at all.
Dave Sperry is the guy you're looking for.
Who?
I hate to say it, but Porky wins Heroes and Villains tonight.
Thank you.
MG's pick of the NFL did it for me. Well, unfortunately, Dave, you don't get to vote on it, and you've already lost.
Yes.
Now, here is the picture that I was going to show you.
Right.
16 miles of Georgia's Interstate 85, known as the Ray, is using solar-generating paving that will generate power for electric charging stations.
Where's that, in Georgia?
In Georgia,
Well,
yes.
Georgia's one of the hottest places in the world.
Yeah, but that's where they're going to do it.
Well, I mean, but how can you possibly hold that up and say, oh, it'll work in this country?
I didn't say that. What I said
work
was...
in Southend, you know.
No, what I said was it is actually it is happening because people are making use of their imagination and they're thinking, what can we do to harness the powers of the planet on which we live? And that is sensible. Instead of standing there like King Canute trying to stop the onset of progress like some kind of medieval plank who thinks the earth is flat.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Do you know King Canute, by the way?
Yeah.
Never said to his people, "I can stop the tide coming."
No,
in.
I know that.
It
It's
was
been misquoted.
completely the other way around.
Yeah, he was trying to convince everybody else that they couldn't stop the tide.
Exactly. Everybody said, "You're a great king. Can you increase the wheat production? Can you lower taxes? Can you, fight more wars with, less people?" He said, "What do you think I am, some sort of messiah?" And they said, "Yes, you're a messiah." He said, "I'm not. Take me down to the beach." So they carried his stone down to the beach, put it on the edge of the water and said, "Look, I can't stop the waves coming in."
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I just like to keep it simple for you because you don't seem to be
No.
able to understand it.
I knew all about that story many, many moons ago.
Oh, good, okay.
Believe me.
This is Talk Sport.
singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the white winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Ooh, baby, ooh, say ooh. And the days go by like a strand in the wind, in the web that is my own. I begin again. Said to my friend, baby, nothing else.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. That sounds very much like Stevie Nicks to me.
Yeah.
We've got, of course, we've got Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on, and we're going to take some calls. We're going to talk about whether or not the Premier League's now got the top three rather than the top four.
That's right.
Which was an idea that was being discussed a little bit earlier on in the day on Sky Sports, I think. But why are we playing Stevie Nicks?
We're playing Stevie Nicks because there is a new biography just been published about her, right?
Okay.
And she is the most fascinating woman. The new book is called Stevie Wonder, right? Now, it's not about Stevie Wonder.
I like that.
It's Stevie Wonder with a small W.
Yes.
And it says Gold Dust Woman, the biography of Stevie Nicks. In fact, actually, it's not called Stevie Wonder.
Isn't it?
The review I saw of it had the headline Stevie Wonder.
It's a good headline.
Yeah, it's a good headline, yeah.
Well, I suppose if you're marketing a book about Stevie Nicks and you call it Stevie Wonder, it might confuse people.
It would confuse me, certainly, because I think it'd be about...
You think, I'll buy this book about Stevie Wonder.
That's right, yeah.
And then it's not about Stevie
That's right,
Wonder.
yeah, absolutely. You've got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
But it's written by
It
some
certainly
guy
confused
called
me.
Stephen Davis.
It's written by Stephen.
Eh?
It's written by somebody called Stephen.
Stephen Davis.
Stephen Davis?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I used to know Stephen Davis.
Did you?
Yeah.
It could be
worked
him.
for the Sunday Times.
No, it could well be him.
He was Australian, I think.
Australian. The point is that it's the unauthorised biography because she hasn't yet written her own autobiography.
Right.
And some people say the reason for that is that she would have found it very difficult to recall some of the months, weeks, maybe even years of membership of Fleetwood Mac.
Indeed. Well, this is why people keep diaries, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about Alistair Campbell a little while because he's got a new book out. And I was listening to an interview he was doing with Hawksby and Jacobs where he said that he studiously wrote down things because he knew that he'd never remember them.
Yeah.
And when all the time he was in Downing Street and then later and all, if you had wanted to write, say, your diaries from the year 2000 until now, there'd be loads of stuff that you wouldn't remember.
Yeah, I suppose it would
Loads
be,
of it. It's not a question of
that
whether you're
Damien
an alcoholic.
O'Brien guy who worked in Downing Street as well, he was the press officer, wasn't he?
Damien O'Brien.
Yeah.
You mean Damien somebody else, isn't it?
I think it's O'Brien.
No, I
because
don't think so.
He plotted with...
He was sort of Gordon Brown's henchman, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Damien McBride, I think.
Damien McBride, that's it, exactly. He was Gordon Brown's henchman, but he was also involved in the plot to try and smear and discredit Tory politicians by putting out sort of fake news about them and all this kind of stuff.
Before it was even known as fake news.
Before it was known as fake news. And the other guy who got involved in that was the former spin doctor, Derek... What was his name?
Which one?
The one who's
Derek. What was his name?
I spoke to him that night.
Yeah.
And had to sack him because he was with them really as a political guru.
No, I mean you personally hadn't hired him.
Well, I'd done the deal with him. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was all done by kind of senior management and all that. You know, but then we had to get rid of him because he phoned in from
Derek Draper.
For Derek Draper.
Yeah.
Dolly Draper, he was known as.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, look, this book here. It says the book was written by the guy who also wrote the notorious Led Zeppelin book, Hammer of the Gods.
Okay.
Have you read that?
I haven't read it, but I'm aware. I do know about it, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It promises to shed new light on Fleetwood Mac star's addictions, affairs and turbulent times, both with the band and as a solo artist.
Yes.
Now, that band, Fleetwood Mac, there were so many sort of personal relationships going on, you know, over the years. I lost count. Yeah,
well, if you tried to do one of those Venn diagrams of it, it would be sort of, more like a spirograph.
In the end, Mick Fleetwood had an affair with Stevie Nicks, according to one book I read.
Well, I think everybody in the band had an affair with Stevie Nicks at one point
Did
or another,
they?
didn't they? Yeah,
and didn't Stevie Nicks she had a... Was it Lindsay Buckingham? He was a bloke, wasn't he, Lindsay Buckingham?
That's right.
I think she and Lindsay Buckingham were a small... twosome, a bit like sort of, Dave, what's his name that you were telling me about?
Dave Stewart.
Yeah, Dave Stewart and Annie Lennox,
yes.
you know, Here Comes the Rain Again.
Yeah.
And they were sort of very average at what they did. And then they met Mick Fleetwood and he said, why don't you join us? We're a bunch of musicians from Britain and we could all get together and start making great music. And they did. And then they wrote Rumours, you know, and the world changed and all that. But she is...
You're not saying that the Eurythmics weren't any good, are you?
I'm saying the Eurythmics were brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they were the sort of American version, but they weren't as good as the Eurythmics, you know?
They weren't as good as Fleetwood Mac. Or you mean the other two weren't as good?
No, the other two
I
went
see what
before
you
they
mean,
joined
yes.
Fleetwood Mac,
Yes.
Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham.
Yes.
Did the same sort of gig, over in America, but weren't as good as Dave Stewart and Annie Lennox.
right.
Yeah. But the book will be fascinating because, the things that you've read about her over the years, I've told you about how she always had her suite painted pink and then had to be painted white
Yes.
again when she left. And,
Yes.
And because I read the history of Fleetwood Mac, and in one chapter, she hurt herself and
she
hurt
probably didn't
the position
actually.
she landed
It'd be like
on.
the guys from Status Quo, do you remember?
Yeah, that's right.
She said they used to run into the wall.
It was a brick
with their
wall,
heads.
and if they couldn't feel any pain,
they knew they should stop taking everything.
Yeah, that's right. They'd had just about enough cocaine.
Yeah.
But
It's a family show. This,
yeah,
isn't it?
a fantastic woman, and no doubt, it'll be a brilliant read. Now, listen, let me tell you about Roy Keane, talking about books, okay?
Yeah, because we were talking about Alistair Campbell,
Yeah.
funnily enough.
Yeah.
And this has come from his book, I think, hasn't it? His latest memoir.
Yeah, his latest Campbell Diary
Yeah.
book, right? And it's volume 6, can you believe it? From Blair to Brown Diaries, volume 6.
Well, I'm wishing I kept a diary now because, so many interesting things happened to me.
Well, that's right, yeah.
As they did to you.
But
we didn't keep a diary.
No. As a result of this diary, it says Sir Alex Ferguson described Roy Keane as a man with no demons who did not like people that much, according to the latest batch of diaries.
Isn't it with many demons?
Rather
Rather than no demons.
A man with demons, that's all he says.
Okay, right.
Published by Tony Blair's former communications chief, Alistair Campbell.
Yes.
Diaries reveal that Campbell had a secret role in Sam Allardyce's failed bid to secure the England manager's job in 2006, and that Ferguson declined to sign the French star Frank Ribéry because he didn't think he was good enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose he's not really a Man United type player, is he?
Yeah, no, that's right. In September 2006, a year after Ferguson and Keane had acrimoniously parted ways, that's when Keane went to Celtic, wasn't it?
Yes.
Campbell writes that he felt he had what it took in so many ways, says Sir Alex Ferguson, but he had demons in his head and they would come out. He was actually someone who didn't like people that much unless they met his own standards.
Right.
The observation, echoed remarks Ferguson had made to him in November 2005 when Keane was moved on from Old Trafford after unflattering remarks about his teammates on the club channel MUTV.
Right.
Campbell had expressed his surprise to Ferguson about his decision to let Keane go. Ferguson said, "I said you used to say he was the most intelligent player you'd had." And Campbell said to Sir Alex Ferguson, "You used to say he was the most intelligent player you'd had and the one likeliest to be a top manager. He went wrong. There is something not right there,"
Yes.
said Sir Alex.
Well, they never got on, did they? I mean, it was very clear, which is surprising in a way, because you might think that Roy Keane is the kind of person that Sir Alex Ferguson would totally admire.
Yes.
Because he was very dedicated to his craft.
That's right.
You know, he took his job very seriously.
Yeah.
He also didn't put up with, slackers, didn't put up with people who weren't putting in 100% effort.
That's right.
You would have thought that Sir Alex would have liked a guy like that as a kind of a leader and a captain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But obviously they just, something happened, which we may never know.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just that interview on MUTV, was it?
No, that's right. Jamie Redknapp, with whom Campbell also struck up a friendship, told him that Roy Keane had probably had too big an ego to be a manager and would not be able to, communicate with his players.
Yeah.
This was before the Irishman took his first job in management, and of Allardyce and the England job. Campbell says Alex was a fan of Sam's. He thought he was way better than his public profile, but said he enjoyed his drink. We didn't know that, did we?
Well, I suppose there have been people that have said that in the past.
Have they?
But Sir Alex Ferguson rather liked to drink as well.
Yeah, but not to inebriation. He liked tasting expensive wines.
Well, I don't know about that.
I think we should make that clear.
I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with having a drink. I'm just saying I think he quite liked to have a drink.
And Ruud van Nistelrooy departed from United because, according to Ferguson, allegedly in this book, right?
Yeah.
The Dutch striker offended Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it was all over. Yeah,
you can't do that.
Well,
he's the golden boy.
Yeah, and do you know what? Because, of course, I, pull everything together in a brilliant sort of way.
Do you?
In another book
Is that
review,
how you see it?
Do you know Roddy Doyle is?
Roddy Doyle, yes, the Irish author.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he co-wrote Roy Keane's book.
Oh, yeah.
Roddy Doyle is the only Booker-winning writer to co-author a football autobiography, okay?
Right.
So he's a Booker-winning writer. What for?
I'm not sure what he won the Booker Prize for.
Smile?
Could have been.
Roddy Doyle?
Could have been.
Paddy Clark. He had something to do with The Commitments and the film. He wrote the script
Yeah,
for
I
the
think
film
he did.
The Commitments, yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yes, it's
It's
good,
very
isn't
good.
it? Is it the young Irish group who go around in an old van?
Yeah, well, they become they're like a soul group.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right,
become
yeah.
very successful.
Yeah, that's right.
Very
yeah.
good.
But anyway, it says in 2014, Roddy Doyle worked with ex-Manchester United and Ireland captain Roy Keane on the second half.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, of his book that covered the whole sort of World Cup period and all that. Right?
That's right, yeah. Despite Keane's bruising reputation, the experience was a happy one, says Roddy Doyle. People in Ireland have opinions about Roy the same way they have opinions about the Civil War, i.e., you either love him or hate him, I think.
Right.
I didn't encounter any abrasiveness. He's a great man to work with, terrific integrity, and a truly brilliant editor of his own words. He always had suggestions about changing words. It was very precise, line-by-line stuff, and he's very funny. My father was in hospital at the time. He was dying. I'd go in and tell him things that Roy had said. My father was sitting up in bed with other patients, and he was in stitches laughing. That's a lovely memory, and I thank Roy for it.
Well, there you are.
And
there are people in Ireland who talk about Roy Keane in a
Yeah.
very different way.
Yes.
They say he's a very generous guy.
Yeah.
They say he does a lot of work for charity.
Yeah.
They say that he is a kind of national hero to them.
Yeah.
I was listening to another interview the other day with the guys from Westlife
Yes.
who were saying that everyone in Ireland
Yeah.
really reveres Roy Keane
Right, yeah.
for what he's done for Irish football.
Yeah, sure.
For the whole kind of business of football
Yeah.
in their country.
I'm sure that's true.
Because he was very much a top operator.
I'm sure that's true. But it says here, Roddy Doyle, a man of real words,
Yeah.
a man of letters,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
says that Roy Keane was brilliant at precisely describing his feelings
Yeah.
in sharp and complicated words.
Oh, listen,
Sorry, sharp and simple words.
I think he's a very complicated guy.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a very interesting bloke to talk to.
Yeah.
And maybe spend some time with. But
Yeah.
clearly, like a lot of people
Yeah.
with that kind of level of intensity,
That's right.
he can be difficult.
That's
you know?
right, yeah.
Now, Graham says, in regard to some of the things that you've been saying tonight, the TalkSport listeners are forever asking themselves which mind-bending drugs the Porkmeister is currently imbibing.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
And Nick says, the unforgettable moment with Derek. Derek.
Derek who?
Well, Derek Draper. But he said
Derek Draper,
The
that's
unforgettable
the guy.
moment, but you couldn't remember his second name.
No, I couldn't, no.
But
That's
there we are.
absolutely right,
He was
yeah.
yesterday's man.
He was.
Coming up next,
Yes.
it is very much tomorrow's woman.
Yes.
We're going to be talking to Sandra Lee, down under, who's got some great tales,
Excellent.
including one about a crocodile that's been shot
Wowee.
with a gun. And it's very bad news. This is TalkSport.
When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. Now these days.
This is TalkSport. We are the
Yep.
two mics. Now, normally that music would mean that we're going to do a bit of Ask Porky.
That's right.
Right? But we're not going to do Ask Porky.
No, we're not, no.
We're going to do Ask Sandra instead.
Indeed we are,
Because
yeah.
Sandra Lee
Absolutely.
is our favourite Australian.
Absolutely.
She is, in fact, down in Sydney, Australia, even
Yep.
now as we
Yep.
speak. We've got some great stories to talk to her
We
about
certainly
because
have.
if you didn't think there was much happening down there, there's loads going on.
There is.
Sandra, a very good morning to you, I should say.
Fellas, and it is crazy down here at the moment.
Crazy.
What do you mean by crazy? What's going on?
Well, there's a lot going on where we've had our former Prime Minister has been given a Liverpool kiss by one of the feral supporters of the Yes Marriage campaign vote.
Really?
It's a disgrace.
Yeah.
What?
No, it
Somebody
wasn't.
somebody got close enough to put the nut on him.
That's absolutely right. A chap was calling out to the former Prime Minister, Mr. Abbott, I want to shake your hand. And he
Right.
went over to shake his hand and then leaned in and gave him the notorious Liverpool kiss.
Wow. Now, how did he manage to get that close to him without being intercepted by one of the Secret Service people?
Well, that's the thing. That's how laid back Aussies are. Our politicians don't travel with a contingent of security office, highly armed.
Wow.
Basically, he was getting about with just his office staffer when this man approached him and assaulted him.
That's bizarre. But
Wow.
I mean, even in this day and age, I mean, Australia has not. I mean, just to be serious for a moment, Australia has not escaped the dreaded scourge of some of these kind of ISIS types doing things there. Did they not even think that under now the circumstances that they should do it?
Well, there has been some debate about whether or not our politicians are protected enough. And just in the last couple of weeks, in fact, our federal parliament in Canberra, has had a massive fence installed around the perimeter of it to stop people sort of accessing it through the front gates with ease, as they have ever since we became a federation in 1901. So that is one sign that they're taking it a lot more seriously. But still, you know, when you see a former Prime Minister getting around without any security, and in fact this morning I saw our current Prime Minister's daughter and her two children walking around in the streets with absolutely no one even giving her an inch of bother.
Bizarre.
Blimey. Just before we talk about crocodiles, by the way, Sandra, because we're talking politics, there's an election going on in New Zealand, isn't there? And how does the relationship with Australia and New Zealand work?
Well, we're great allies and great mates. Of course, that was all forged in World War I with the Anzacs. So that we've been great mates with New Zealand for a long time. In fact, the politics is not too different from here. However, they've had exactly what was happening a couple of years ago in Australia. They've just had an election on the weekend, and it looks like they're going to go to a hung parliament.
I see.
Well, it's all the rage, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, the politics around the world, it seems to be very
Angela
difficult.
Merkel's got the same problem in Germany.
She's had a sort of a load of coalitions for ages. But, I mean, people do seem to be very confused around the world, Sandra, don't they?
Well, I think that it's probably not confused. I think they're disillusioned with politicians. I think a lot of public think that they're getting the raw prawn when it comes to what our pollies are doing for us. And you know, we see it everywhere. They're all feathering their own nests and lining their own pockets, but the average punter is being left behind.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, talking about crocodiles, this is a different sort of crocodile story which you've highlighted for us, and that is because this giant crocodile has been killed. There is now a turf war going on for younger crocodiles who want to become King Croc, and they're all going to start getting terribly aggressive, aren't they?
Well, apparently that's what happens in the crocodile world. It's almost like, you know, it's not just in the crocodile world, as we know, it's in the animal kingdom. There's always got to be one kingpin going on. And now that this massive croc has been found shot in the head...
5.2 metres long, by the way.
That's big.
It's huge.
No, that's huge. That is an old croc as well. And imagine the power of that croc controlling all the other crocs in the sort of the estuary and the river system up in the north. You know, probably you want that croc. The experts have said that croc has not ever been a problem to humans in the area. So who knows who shot it? But if the person is arrested who did shoot it, they're going to be hit with a $30,000 fine.
I mean, it's been sort of done gangland style, hasn't it? One shot to the head. It's almost as though the crocodiles have ganged up on the big crocodile and had it taken out.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, presumably the crocodile hasn't been killed by another crocodile with a gun.
I don't think they're that talented.
No. But I mean, I'm quite interested to read that it's actually illegal to take and kill a crocodile without authority.
Of course it is.
And so, even if you're being attacked by one.
Well, no, if you're being attacked by one, you can defend yourself, I take it, Sandra, can't you? If your right leg's about to disappear into a crocodile's stomach, then I think you've got every right to smash the crocodile on the head with a spade you might be carrying at the time or something like that.
If you're lucky enough to have a spade at that.
Why would you be walking around in a crocodile-infested area of Australia with a shovel?
Well, to defend yourself, because the best way to get rid of a croc is to...
38.
No, shove a spade into mouth, and then it will, feel a bit discombobulated.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Not surprised. What about this other story over in Perth, where some guy was photographed or was filming himself surfing on the trains? He's finally been caught as well.
Yeah, there is this phenomenon in Australia of train surfing by young idiots.
Right.
In fact, there's one group in Melbourne actually called themselves, a group of sky-high idiots. And they jump on the backs of trains or on the tops of trains as they're travelling at speed and take photographs of themselves and then post it online. It's led to quite a few accidents and fatalities in recent years. There's more than 20 people have died doing it. And this guy was caught and... people who were driving alongside parallel to the train took the footage and posted it online, and he was arrested when the train pulled into a couple of stations.
I remember when they did something similar to this in Brazil, didn't they? It was like but they had so many bridges apparently that it was almost like it was
knocking them off.
Well, it was like a very deadly thing to do. I mean, why do these people have too much time on their hands?
Well, it's kind of crazy. It's sort of you hope sort of the Darwinian principle kicks in, don't you?
Well, exactly.
If you're that idiotic, you get what's coming to you.
Now, Sandra, are you aware of this amazing sporting event which I've come across, which happens apparently at this time of the year in Australia, and it's called Running of the Venus, and it's a load of little dachshund dogs who compete in the Tekla-Rennen Hofast Dachshund race in Melbourne, Australia.
Dachshund Weekly.
Yeah, no, it's because apparently there's a big link between Melbourne and the Oktoberfest in Munich.
Oh, really?
Is this right?
Really? Well, it's the first time I've ever heard of it, but it does sound like a lot of fun because you've got to admit one of the funniest dogs are the sausage dogs.
Yes, they are. They are little sausage dogs, and they're all racing along each other. But the picture I've got here, which came from Getty Images, so they're a worldwide photo operation, is surrounded by Oktoberfest, Hophaus Oktoberfest, Munich. So, is there a big German?
Sure, it's not going on in Munich.
Well, no. This is in New Zealand. In Australia. I'm sorry. It's happening in Melbourne, Australia. Now, is there a big German contingency then in Melbourne?
You will be surprised if I tell you I don't know.
No, right, okay. You haven't been over there lately to find out. They have ways of making you drink.
These some of the more ridiculous questions you've ever been asked, Sandra, would be the other thing.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, this is apparently what's going on. And we have to also inquire, Sandra, on the shark report. How many people have been eaten by sharks since we last spoke to you?
None.
Oh, no, okay, it's improving
then.
A bit
of a quiet period for sharks.
Yeah, that's right,
We've had a quiet period, but the waters are warming up and we're heading into summer, so I imagine that will increase over the coming months as more people get into the water.
Yeah, see, there you go. It's been winter, you see.
At the wrong time of day.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, we have to say, Sandra, we had a fantastic time in Manhattan. First time I've been back in Manhattan with Mr. Parry since the sort of late 80s, really.
Yeah, really.
And we
early
90s. Saw my mother, saw my sister, saw a load of good people. We missed you being there, but we did pop into the Essex house just for a quick sherbet, just to toast your time there.
Well, not really, because it was.
I never spent any time there.
No, exactly. You tell him and put him straight. And the other thing you'd like to know, Sandra, is I tried to go to Ryan McFadden's for lunch. Okay, the one right opposite the news building, on 42nd and 2nd. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It used to be quite a sedate, rather nice Irish pub restaurant. It's now a hothouse, bursting with energy sports bar full of young people screaming and shouting, and certainly not the sort of relaxez-vous atmosphere that a person of my demeanour wants these days. New York is changing, believe me.
It really is.
I can imagine.
Well, next stop, Sydney, perhaps. So we may be seeing you down there sooner than we think. But Sandra, listen, have a lovely day.
Lovely to talk to you, Sandra. Thank you very much.
Thank you, as ever.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Lee, what a lovely woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is one of our favourite Australians, probably our favourite Australian of all time.
Yeah.
And we hope to be maybe heading down there at some point in the next 12 months, if it's all possible.
Yes.
If we can manage to pull that off, that would be quite something. Now, coming up next, it's time for Porky Vision.
Certainly
so
is.
I hope you've been watching plenty of TV.
Oh, yes.
Because you've got to fill some time and tell us what you've been doing.
You bet.
This is TalkSport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
That music, of course, does mean that it's time for Porky Vision. Let me just read you this before we go any further. Linda has tweeted us to say, my one and only Oktoberfest experience was in Melbourne around 1991.
Amazing.
Great event, as everything in that city tends to be.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there is a big German...
Exactly, there's a big link between Oktoberfest München and Oktoberfest Melbourne.
I mean, certainly I think
I'm ways of making your drink.
Yeah, we don't need to try too hard where it comes to us. The point about some American towns, I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh has one, and I think Chicago does as well.
Yeah,
an actual German town.
Yeah, that's right.
And they call it Germantown.
Germantown, right.
And you go there and there's loads of German restaurants.
Yeah.
And sort of, bratwurst salesmen.
We used to use a German restaurant in New York.
Yeah, Ralph's,
Ralph's, that's right, yeah. Now, let me tell you about Porky Vision, okay?
Yeah, go on then. What are you doing?
Now, I saw the first episode of a shocking TV series called Bad Move. Right?
Bad Move.
I'm
not familiar with that.
It stars, nobody is, and nobody will be. Yeah. It was awful. Really? It stars Jack D.
Okay.
And Jack D did those John Smith's adverts. Do you remember?
Jack D, I used to quite like as a comedian, actually.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think he's quite a good comedian, but he's an actor in this, you see.
Is he?
What happens is, it's such a corny, well-worn plot. Do you remember a spin-off from Only Fools and Horses called The Green Green Grass?
Is that the one with sort of
Boise
yeah.
and Marlene?
Well,
Marlene.
funny enough, we've talked about it, but I never saw it because, again, when we had that conversation about Only Fools and Horses, I wasn't really here.
No, that's right, yeah.
So I missed the follow-up
Well,
as well.
Marlene's a big fan of our show anyway. She came on once.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? She came on to our show once.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah. And she was, promoting some stage play. But the way she played, the wife of Boise is, Marlene, I told you, Boise, I don't do that. And all that, the sort of screaming, like a fishwife type, Bermondsey lady. You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with Bermondsey, by the way.
No, nothing wrong with Bermondsey at all. And so they had a spin-off called The Green Green Grass, and that was about the green green grass of home.
Yes.
Because Boise had suddenly gone and done something terrible in a business deal.
I thought he'd made a load of money or something.
No, it was the other way around.
Oh, right,
He'd done some terrible business deal and upset the local gangsters in Bermondsey, and they fled to Shropshire to find a farm where he could remain anonymous from these gangsters who now wanted to blow him away.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right. I saw a movie that was a bit like that. I think it was Robert De Niro. It was a comedy. Yeah. And Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
And they were this American family trying to get away from the mafia.
Right, okay,
and they moved to France.
Yes, yeah. So, well, that just proves it's not an original plot, to move to the country and all this. So this is called Bad Move.
Right.
And Jack Dee plays a guy called Nicky, and his wife in the series is called Steve.
Yes.
No, hang on.
Steve?
No, sorry. His wife must be called Nicky, and he must be called Steve. Yeah. So, that's the role he plays.
Right.
And it is full of so many cliches about, we can't get any internet here. Why not?
Right.
Oh, because you live in the dip. And then they go and ask somebody else about, listen, why can't we get any internet here?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going internet in the dip. And it just
goes on and on.
Just goes on.
Yeah.
And well, not even funny joke first time. It's repeated 6 times.
Right.
But it's all about, local yokels and all this kind of stuff. And
have they put this out as a series or is it
it's a 6-part series.
Oh, right.
It's a 6-part series, and it's shocking. It's shockingly bad. And it's on again on Wednesday, and I'm not even going to watch it because it was so poor.
Yeah.
And
who plays his wife then? Anybody we know?
Don't know. Some, actress, obviously.
Well,
obviously. But I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Now, so that's disappointing,
yes,
okay?
that is disappointing.
So then we get to Liar, which is the one about the surgeon who's accused of raping...
Yes, you mentioned this one last week.
Yeah, raping the woman who used to play Bates's wife in Downton.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to be critical of other people and their jobs and what they do.
No, you would never want to do that.
But I noticed that Joanne, whatever her name is, who plays the
woman from Downton.
Yeah, the woman from Downton, who plays the victim in Liar.
Yes.
Is it Liar?
Liar, yeah.
Liar, it is Liar, that's
so.
right, yeah. I don't think she's a particularly expressive actress. I thought she was great in Downton. She played a dowdy sort of downtrodden maid.
Yes.
Who was Bates's wife and stood by him when he was accused of murder.
And also a bit of a victim as well.
Bit of a victim as well and all that. She got raped in that one, actually, funny enough. It just reminded me. She got raped by one of these sort of guests, didn't she, in Downton?
Well, one of the guys upstairs.
One of the guys upstairs.
And also, that was why one of them was then charged, or not charged, but suspected of killing him.
Throwing the bloke under a horse.
Yeah, in London.
On carriage, that's right, yeah. So, but I don't think she's terribly expressive. I think she's only got sort of one expression, and that is sort of indignation.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it, I think. But I mean, I know we should be cruel because obviously she's been very successful.
Yes. I think she's doing all right if she's in a prime time television drama.
Exactly. And the doctor, of course, is, as we've discussed before, Hornblower.
Yes.
Your mate of mine.
Yeah, Ewan Griffith. I used to go rugby matches with him.
That's right, you told me.
I mean, not just him, but, in the same company.
So I'm not sure that's, terribly expressive. And in the last
but
series,
how does the second show of that, because you laid the groundwork rather well
well,
for
what
that.
happens is...
without giving too much away...
Well, what happens is...
where do we get to in the second episode?
Because she is convinced that he gave her the old Robinothol, or whatever it's called.
Rohypnol, yeah.
What's it called?
Rohypnol,
right, which is a drug which apparently renders women helpless.
Well, anyone, really.
Yeah, but particularly women helpless to ward off, sexual predators.
Exactly,
you see what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean,
It's fine. Carry on.
So she decides that the cops aren't doing a good enough job.
Right.
And why haven't they
have the cops become convinced that it's just a he says, she says situation?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But then what happens is her former boyfriend, who is a cop, right?
Okay.
So he's a bit outraged about all this because, you know, he still has feelings for her, even though they split up.
Well, people do.
He blackmails one of his pals on the drug squad to raid this guy's house.
Really?
Because she's come up with the idea that, this Rob Hidnall...
Oh, so they might find the drug there.
They might find the drug. Now, the ludicrous assertion about all this is that she goes and breaks into the house anyway.
Right.
And she thinks she's found the drug underneath the bed.
Well, that's no use to the police if she finds it, is it?
Well, no, she puts it back and then tells her ex-boyfriend, the cop, it's under the bed.
Well, maybe she planted it there.
Well, no, because it was in a case, and all that kind of stuff. And so he blackmails a mate of his on the drug squad, who he's clearly once helped in a difficult situation to fend off an accusation of criminal, conduct himself.
Yes.
And he says, "Don't you remember how I helped you? Now I need your help." So the cops turn up with the blue lights flashing and all that, raid his house. So we've got we're the drug squad. We've got to tip off there are drugs in this house, because any member of the public can ring up and tip off anybody about anything. You know?
But I'm not sure that you can actually then, as a police officer, enter the house unless you've got a warrant.
Well, he had a warrant.
Oh,
this is the point. They turned up with a warrant. You know?
Okay.
And they raided the house and they got under and they found this clear bottle with Rob Hidall on it, but it wasn't. It was insulin, because he's a
why did
surgeon.
it say Rohypnol on it?
It didn't say Rohypnol on it. She's convinced it was Rohypnol.
Oh, I see. Even though she's not an expert.
She didn't even open it and smell it. You know, she just looked at it and said, "Oh, this must be it." And it's insulin.
Yes.
So. What happens then is that somebody else has been doing a bit of digging. I think it's a local reporter or something. And he then turns up and says, this guy's got a history of this having happened before.
Okay.
So the plot is thickening a bit.
All right.
But I still think she's... Excuse me, I've got a bit of a sore throat.
I'm sorry about that.
All that talking we did in
well, it's all the talking
in New
you
York.
do generally,
yeah.
I would say.
And so...
what do you do for a living?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And so it's all mired in a kind of, as you quite rightly say, she said, he said type scenario.
Well, Gary has tweeted and he says, looking at the character she's playing in Liar, I think the character she's playing might need to be played that way, i.e. somebody without too many emotions outwardly.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, could be.
So she's playing it deadpan.
Yeah, could be.
In other words.
But the strangest thing is, her sister now appears to be having a bit of horizontal refreshment with the ex-boyfriend, you see.
The ex-boyfriend?
Yeah,
what,
the copper. The copper, yeah.
Well, her sister?
Yeah.
Oh, it's complicated,
Yeah, it is a bit complicated.
Quite sordid, all this stuff, really.
And she, for some unknown reason, every now and then, is seen paddling around in a canoe.
Who is?
The victim.
In a canoe?
Yeah, in a canoe. She likes
canoeing?
Yeah, she likes canoeing.
Is it a kayak or a canoe?
It's a kayak. But I tell you what, they give you an aerial scene of this. It's the most spectacular scenery, and I think it must be on the Norfolk Broads.
All right.
Because there's so many waterways, you know what I mean, around little islands and all that. And I don't even know where it is.
Well, where's it set, this show?
I think it's set on the north coast of Essex.
Okay. Well, that would make sense then, wouldn't it?
Well, I suppose so, but I've never seen a place with all those
Colchester.
little islands. No, on the north coast of Essex. Colchester is towards Suffolk, isn't it, really?
Well, isn't that the north coast of Essex?
No, because that's on the Suffolk-Essex border, Colchester.
Yeah.
It's inland.
Well, that's northern Essex, though, isn't it?
No, it's inland. It's inland.
Well, yeah, but that way, though.
No, it's not. No, it's on the way to Ipswich.
What about Saffron Walden?
Saffron Walden is in...
Is North Essex?
No. Saffron Walden's in a different county.
No, it's in North Essex.
I
went because I nearly went to buy a house there once. Saffron Walden.
You sure it's in
Essex?
Essex?
It's in Essex, yeah. It's in a nice part of Essex.
I thought it was in somewhere like... what am I thinking of?
Well, I don't know.
Begins with H, north of London.
Like Harwich.
Hertfordshire,
no.
yeah. No, you sure?
No, definitely not.
Okay, yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, glad we sorted that out.
Yeah, so that's got another couple of episodes to go, right? I don't like the old bad move. And the other one, which is called Relic.
Time.
Relic,
yeah. Which is killer backwards, I learned last week.
Yeah. I can't even watch it. It's so complicated. I've no idea what the plot's all about, what the plan is.
I was going to give that a go the other night, but after your review...
No, a load of people with burnt faces talking gibberish, but in a plot that keeps switching from 3 years on to 3 years back.
Right.
And it's impossible to understand.
How bizarre.
Utterly impossible.
Yeah.
So don't bother watching that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't bother.
Okay.
That was Porky Vision.
It certainly was.
This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, tomorrow. We will be doing some more live streaming later on in the week. In fact, we're thinking about doing an Ask Porky live from the streets of London, which you'll be able to not only listen to, but watch on Facebook. Might do that on Wednesday. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to keep following us on Twitter, at the Two Mics, at Mike Parrier, at IROMG, and, of course, on Facebook as well. Mark says, he's tweeted it, he says, Liar looks like it's set in a place called Walton on the Naze.
Oh, Walton on the Naze.
Where's that?
Essex.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we're also hearing from behind the glass it might be filmed in Deal.
Yes.
Down in Kent.
Deal, could be. Hey, we talked about Damien McBride before.
Yeah.
Well, very, complete coincidence. He must be down at the Labour Party conference.
Oh, of course,
And he's just tweeted out, just bumped into a couple of old friends on the Brighton prom where we last met in 2013.
Oh, really?
That must be the last time he was working in government, maybe.
How interesting.
Yes.
Do you remember when we were talking the other day, actually, about the fruit picking business?
Yes.
Do you know what I saw today?
Who?
I told you, in addition to being out and about in this park in Eastbourne, where there was lots of people playing football, there's a load of tennis courts as well.
Right.
And I was walking the dog around the tennis courts. He loves watching tennis. He gets very excited.
Yes.
About the
Does
tennis
he?
ball. Yeah,
he likes the tennis ball.
He loves watching it,
I suppose he likes running after it, does he?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you let him loose in a tennis court, he wreaks all kinds of havoc.
Yeah.
He loves watching squirrels as well, is his latest thing. But there was a sign up that said, that there's basically part-time grape picking jobs going in Kent, right?
Yeah.
But £8 an hour.
They pay you £8
They pay you £8 an hour.
Yeah,
And I
that's
thought,
minimum
that's
wage,
not bad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
but I
minimum
mean,
wage,
of course it's minimum wage. It's grape picking.
Yeah,
but what it is a sign that the vineyards of Kent are actually now rivaling the vineyards of France.
Well, it could be.
Because, do you remember when we had Helena in, the wine bird?
Yes.
And she was telling us that some of that sparkling English sort of champagne stuff that she gave me was terrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Well, funny enough, I came across a tale about this because these liberal elite people who live in sort of North London and all over the place, you know what I mean?
Liberal elite people.
Yeah, that's right.
Sort of people that you mean like me. As you're also sort of alleging that I'm one of these
No,
types.
you're not quite as mushy as they are.
Thank you very much.
No, what I'm saying is these people now go off for a week of fruit picking to try and get their head together, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Most holidays involve lounging around a pool, sipping cocktails, but this is different. Back-breaking labour in fields, but growing numbers of stressed-out city workers are choosing to take a week off work to spend the time off picking fruit at harvest time.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, this is typical,
Apparently it's
isn't it?
incredibly therapeutic, you see.
I bet it's very hard, though.
Well,
I mean, people have no idea what hard work is like. If you sit behind a desk all day and you suddenly find yourself actually doing physical work, it's backbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, literally backbreaking.
Yeah.
And it can make you feel very, very tired.
OK, well, Rathfinny, which is the East Sussex wine estate, so maybe you know that.
I don't, actually, but I'd like to. I'd like to know more about it.
Offers the chance to offers anybody who wants to pay the chance to stay in its luxurious refitted barns.
Right.
It provides food for the duration of the holiday, like a week's holiday.
Okay.
And you're right, worker holiday makers are paid £8 an hour with board and lodging of £23 a day.
So you have to pay them 23.
You pay them 23 and they pay you 24.
Okay. And I guess what they get out of it is that they get all their grapes picked.
Yes, they got all the grapes picked. No, actually, sorry, it's £8 a day, but board and lodging of £23 a day is deducted from your wages.
Oh, I see.
So if you do 5 hours
a day.
An hour.
Oh, an hour, yeah.
So if you do 5 hours grape picking, you earn £40.
Right.
But they take 23 for your board and lodging, so you get £17.
And what if you want to drink?
I
mean, what if you want to drink? You know, like a bottle of wine.
Well, it says here, the estate also offers a bus to the pub in the town at the end of the night, right?
Sounds good.
Now, Mark Driver, co-founder of Rathfinny, said the way talks are going with the EU, we may not be able to rely on getting seasonal labour from Europe in future, which we've, been reliant on for the past decade. And it says we need about 70 people a day this time of the year to help pick our grapes, and we hope to get most of them locally. But we also welcome people from further afield to come and stay at the Flint Barns for the harvest. That's why we built them in the first place. A surprising number of middle-class people wanting to get away from the cess and strains of the city come down here and regard it as therapy. They don't come to earn the money.
I'm sure they do. Because, I mean, the amounts of money, if you're making a lot of money in the city, the amount of money that you're sort of losing out on or whatever by going down there is not going to stop you doing it. It's not going to bother you. But I would imagine a lot of people are very surprised at how hard work that is. Well, one of the things I did when I was down in Sussex on Saturday, couldn't get either one of my kids to help me, by the way, despite the offer of money.
Yes.
For, pocket money.
Yeah.
We had a delivery of wood.
Right.
Like a cord of wood, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And the guy just dumps it in the driveway. So I had to put it in the woodshed, which is quite difficult to do for one person.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to pick
Wear
it up.
gloves.
Wear gloves, pick up the wood, put it in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
I must have done about 12 or 15 wheelbarrow loads.
Good God, you couldn't get either of your young lads to help you?
No, because it's not the sort of thing they want to do.
No, it's not groovy.
And I said, well, I'm not going to give you any pocket money.
Yeah.
And they just kind of shrugged their shoulders.
Really?
I mean, that's what the world we now live in.
It certainly is.
But before I left the house, I had to promise to pay them pocket money.
Right.
Because they'd agreed to put the dishes in the dishwasher.
Oh, I see. Right.
But I was absolutely sweating
Sounds to me
profusely.
you're a bit of a mug, really.
Well, I am. I'm far too soft on them.
Anyway.
But I was sweating profusely.
Really?
Working in the sunshine.
Yeah, I see.
Putting all this wood in the woodshed.
Yeah, well, should get a bigger
hard
wheelbarrow.
work.
Then you wouldn't have to make 12
Well,
trips.
how big of a wheelbarrow can you have?
Well, like a supersized one.
No,
you know what I mean?
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, of course you can.
No, then you wouldn't get it through the gate.
Anyway, the chap who owns this wine estate says the work is hard but fun.
Yeah.
Everyone is required to spend all day in the field, so you can't do part-time. You've got to do 8 hours.
I bet you it's not fun at all.
All day in the fields, come rain or shine. But he says what everybody seems to enjoy is the banter and lots of camaraderie.
Oh, yeah.
If you work behind a desk all day, then I think picking grapes as a contrast is very therapeutic. People simply enjoy being outside and working. Now, there's another one, right?
Well, I mean, I can understand people enjoying it because they're so sort of stuck in the city that they've never been to the countryside.
Yeah, that's right.
But I tell you what, after an hour of picking grapes, you'd be pretty cheesed off with it.
Well,
wouldn't you?
funny enough, the Tinwood estate is another estate, a wine estate near Chichester, and it goes a step further. It says, we offer harvest experience day trips, but we don't pay anybody anything. We charge them £45 for the privilege
That's
of coming.
a very clever businessman,
coming and walking through our estates, and if they want to pick a few grapes themselves, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, but I mean, they've hit on a very good way of getting free grapes, haven't they, basically?
Here, it says here, the day out involves picking Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier grapes with a break for a 3-course rustic harvest lunch.
Very nice.
So that'd be like a ploughman's lunch.
So you're not really actually working like a proper grape picker.
No, after working among the vine's customers, you get the chance to sample the estate's 3 different sparkling wines. Broadwater Farm in Kent has also seen a doubling of the number of British workers helping out the apple harvest. The farm pays national living wage and offers subsidised accommodation, including double rooms, to teams of 60 fruit pickers who gather 3,000 tonnes of Gala, Jazz, Bramley and Braeburn apples.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, well, it's not
That's incredible.
It's not for the faint-hearted, any of this, I have to tell you. Now, we were going to talk about why there's only a top 3 now in the Premier League instead of a top 4.
Yeah.
We haven't really got a lot of time to do that,
time,
so we should hold on to that maybe and do it again. Jim says this, another cracking Porky vision. I'm totally confused and none the wiser, but left wanting more.
Yes.
Porky should be a scriptwriter.
Yes, that's right. And there's one here. Porky Vision, I'd like to go back 50 years and watch that little dot as I turn TV off when I'm listening to Porky's Porky Vision.
Really?
And that comes from a guy called Mad Oscar in Manchester. And you've got to be mad, mate, if you don't appreciate my Porky Vision.
I see.
Yes.
Here's one from Barry. He says, Porky's got a sore throat because he talks so much rubbish. Colchester is Essex, full stop.
It's not. It's on the border.
Well, it's actually sort of smack in the middle of it, really. I've had a look at the map.
It's border of Essex and Suffolk.
Yeah, yeah, but that's towards the north-east coast of Essex,
right,
isn't it?
if you say so.
If you were heading to the north-east coast, you'd go through Colchester.
Yeah, if you say
Saffron
so.
Walden, on the other hand, is more towards Cambridge, funnily enough.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But I went up there when I was looking at buying houses. I ended up buying a house in Wiltshire.
Right.
But before that, we looked in Saffron Walden, because it's a beautiful part of the world.
Yes, it is.
The problem with Saffron Walden is a little bit too close to Stansted Airport.
Maybe
so you
it
get
is.
an awful lot of planes coming over.
A mate of mine moved there because he was on the same course as me at the University of the Trent.
Oh, yeah.
And
Did he finish it?
He finished it, yeah, and he got he became a member of the Royal Institute of Child
Was
Surveyors.
this the guy that made a load of money?
No, he went off and bought his own estate agency chain in Kent and then bought loads of offices and all that kind of stuff. Now, the other guy took a much easier way in life. Do you know what he did?
No.
He joined the British Rail property division when it was British Rail. But then, of course, it all got nationalised, but he was kept on then by Network Rail.
Have you seen the time?
And because if you work for British Rail,
Yeah.
you get subsidised, very cheap travel.
Yeah.
He was able to get up to Saffron Walden, buy a place there, and then pay nothing to get to work and back every day. He
Thank
worked
you.
at Euston
We've
Station.
got to stop talking. We've run out of time.
Have we?
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.